Kathy's POV. Abby. I emptied everything from my closet, jumbling all my clothes up into a heap. Have you seen my belt, the heart metal one? Look at your waist, she yelled from upstairs. I landed my gaze on my waists. The belt was loosely around my waist, and my big fat belly overhung my belt. Making a deep sigh, I tightened my belt an extra notch. Although I was unwilling to face it, I had to admit that I was overweight. I studied my reflection in the long mirror that was attached to the closet. I was wearing a floral dress. It was tailored not because I was rich, but because there wasn't my size in the shop. However, I still looked like wearing a carpet. I guessed it must because my weight was 238 pounds, while my height was only 5'6" inches. My eyes traveled to my head. I had dark red hair that I had inherited from my mom and big blue eyes that I gained from my dad. But I had to wear a pair of ugly black framed glasses to cover my beautiful eyes as I was short-sighted. I touched my chubby cheeks. I wasn't a beauty, but I was dying to become a beauty. And I had become a beauty in my dreams 1,000 times. In my dream, every boy wanted to try to hook up with me, an incredibly gorgeous girl. By doing nothing, I would become the topic of discussions, and my mate would feel it was his great honor to be my mate. He would give me a bouquet of roses and say he loves me on a starry night. Yes, I was a werewolf. But being a werewolf like me was unlucky. Underage she-wolf remained in human shape. I didn't know how I would look like in wolf shape when I became an adult. But now I was the fattest one in a group of pretty she-wolves in human shapes who had both a curved figure and fairy-like face. The only light in my dullest life was my mate. Although he didn't show up yet, I had been waiting my whole life to meet him. It's a rule that every wolf would have a mate. Once you met, you could recognize him at the first sight, and he would regard you as his everything. He would treat you well with all his efforts. Kathy, hurry up! Abby blew the table loudly to press me. In a rush, I grasped my backpack and ran to the living room. Abby laid face down on a sofa, nibbling popcorn while typing on her phone. Look at the giggle on her face. She must be chatting with her mate. Heck, Abby had found her mate. This little bitch. I didn't mean that I hated her mate, the guy named Jasper, but they were so lovey-dovey, I just couldn't stand it. The last time when I walked into her room, I ran into they two bear doing dirty things. You know, when I heard the moan from Abby, I got goosebumped all over. Go! I grasped her popcorn and put it on the table. Wait for a moment, the last sentence. She fastened her texting. I grabbed her cell phone suddenly and rushed out. Kathy, you bitch! She roared and followed me. Anyway, we got to our destination in 8 minutes. Kathy. Here came a lean and athletic guy who looked very boyish with short hair. However, her voice was sweet. Yes, her. She was my lesbian friend, Carol. But don't worry, I wasn't her type. How's everything going, my cute kitten? She asked. Embraced by her bear hug, I returned with a big smile. Good. How about you? Your new short hairstyle looks simply great. I like it to death. She fixed her hair while gave me the answer. You know, Miss Lillian is such a skunk. What happened? I asked. In her math class, We walked and she kept talking. When she shared her stories with me, I enjoyed it all the time. Well, no, not all the time. It occurred several times that her story had no end. After waving my hands to her, we parted as we had different classes. However, I felt someone shoved me that I couldn't control my body falling. Ouch! Looking up, I found it was Bella. Not a surprise. If there was a contest to vote for the top one bitch in my school, I would pick her without any hesitation. I've told you guys, the floor would shake every time she falls. See? Her little team, a group of silly girls, burst out laughing. I tried to stand up. For me, an ugly fat she-wolf, such kind of school bullies happened every day. Wow, the fatty pig got up. Again, Bella shoved me heavily. I hold back my tears. Just some silly tricks. I told myself I used to fight them back, but sooner I realized that they would be happier if I fought back. The only thing I could do was staying silent. Boring. Where are your screams and curses? Bella chuckled. I said nothing. Maybe my silence annoyed her that she yanked me up. I had no idea what she intended to do, but my instinctive reaction was to resist. I grabbed her hands, but what I did was just in vain. Her cronies just slapped my face and pulled my hands. In their pushing and shoving, my skirt ripped along a seam in the waist. No. I quickly covered my body with my hands. but I couldn't control my body falling. However, I didn't fall as I had imagined because a strong arm had encircled my waist that stopped my falling. A handsome face entered my eyes. It was Sidney, who should be the next alpha. I'd never seen him in reality, but I had seen him in the group photo of my sister, Abby's grade. He's Abby's classmate. The wolf in my body became excited. "Mate," she was roaring. Sidney's eyes also widened, as if he was shocked by his wolf. I bet his wolf also recognized me. I finally met my mate when I had got into this pathetic mess. Embarrassment and surprise rooted me at the spot. However, he took his arms back at once, and the shock in his eyes was replaced by disgust. I quickly steadied myself while he hesitated for a second and threw his coat to me. I grasped his coat, tried to find a word to greet, but he had already stepped away, leaving no words. Wait, shouldn't he save me from the bully and accept me as his mate? I watched his figure receded. Bella and her cronies continue making fun of me with vicious words. But all my attention was focused on Sidney. Why did he leave? Why did I only see disgust in his eyes? Was I indeed a loser that even my mate hated me? But why did he throw his coat to me? He cared about me, right? There hadn't been any she-wolf was refused by her mate in our pack before. He couldn't refuse me, right? I tried to wear his coat to hide the torn skirt. However, I was too fat that I failed to throw my arms into the small sleeves. Again, I realized I was so fat. Worrying that I would crack Sidney's coat, I could only tie his coat on my waist. Kathy's POV. I didn't know how I get to my classroom, but I did sit down on my seats for Miss Lillian's math class. Numbers and calculations were what I hated the most. However, I had to attend this course because it was compulsory. I had already known that even my parents disliked me. They preferred to take Abby with them when there was a party in the pack, because I wasn't their ideal daughter, a good-looking she-wolf. But Sidney was my mate. He should be the one who loved me unconditionally. Was there anything wrong? Maybe you needed a talk first, my wolf suggested. However, there was another voice in my head, kept telling me that Sidney hated the fact he was my mate. Whatever, I couldn't receive the rose as I dreamed in a short time. The bell sounded for the end of the class. Leaving the classroom, I decided to figure out where he was killing his time. I walked upstairs to the classroom, which belonged to senior students, and I saw Sidney, Abby, and some other students gathered. It seemed that they're discussing their group project. One of their group members noticed I coming. "Hey, fatty, what do you want?" he asked, and looked at me with an evil leer. Looking at his face, I was sure that I didn't know him. Anyway, he looked like a silly potato that I ignored him. Gathering all my courage, I landed my gaze on Sidney. "Could you give me several minutes?" I grasped the hem of his coat due to nervousness. "For what?" He stood up from his seats with his arms twisted. Although he wore an oversized blue t-shirt, I could see his muscle tensed with his movement. He truly had a good figure. I felt like that I had no space to place my hands, that I clenched a fist. Whatever, I was running out of courage. "I want to ensure if you are my mate," I mumbled, trying to lower my voice. I wished that Sidney could, the only one who heard my voice. However, the laughter broke up my wish. All the students, except Abby, roared with laughter, including Sidney. How could he laugh? He was my mate. His laughter broke my heart. "Never say stupid, I am not your mate." His words, full of disgusting, followed his laughter. "Your fat ass and elephant waist are quintuples of your sister's, especially when you swaying like a hot air balloon. I'm afraid your wolf has difficulty to go out of your pumpkin belly." He didn't even give me a glance when he said it coldly. "Get out." He decided to end this conversation. The feeling like that I had been trapped in the snow and finally waited for a person who carried a blanket. I thought he would rescue me. I yelled for help, gathering my wits, but he just went away with laughter. His cold behavior just made me wonder if he was the knight that I'd dreamed of. I thought he would be a guy who gave his heart to me unconditionally, but he turned out to be a jerk who was fond of body shaming. "But you're my mate, and you gave me your coat." I murmured the truth. His gaze landed on me, but his eyes were narrowed, rigid, cold, and hard. At that moment, I realized he had never regarded me as his mate. Impossible to the earth. "I am not your mate, and no one will be your mate. You're just a fatty whose legs are even as big as my waists." and your dotted face only reminded me of moldy strawberries. I couldn't imagine there would be someone who has to be your mate. I gave my coat to you just because I didn't want to see your muffin top. Sick it! Incredible attack this time. The dummy potato clapped for Sidney's words. He said the truth. What he said was a wicked attack that hurt me the most. I had no effort to defense. I was totally stunned that I forgot to move. It aroused the dummy's attention that he pointed to me with his finger. Haven't you understood, Tank? Get out! He even pushed me suddenly. Carelessly, I banged into a shelf heavily that I fell, and the shelf collapsed with all the woods and semi-finished wooden furniture had fallen to my body. Heck, the class they had just finished was a crafts class. The world rushed by in a blur and faded until there was nothing, only stars twinkling in front of my eyes. I knew the pain was coming. Finally, the stars disappeared. Now what I saw was darkness. Without looking, I knew my head was bleeding. I could hear someone was shouting, "What on earth did you do?" It was Sidney. I could feel that many students flooded over to and gathered. Oh, why did I still see the vast darkness? I couldn't move. Someone grasped my arm and yelled, "Kathy, Kathy!" It's Abby. Her voice was so anxious. "Help, find Dr. John." Dr. John, would I be sent to the Pack hospital? Someone hugged me and lifted me. It was Sidney. I could feel the spiritual connection. Then I remembered that he said it was impossible for him to be my mate and no one would. Well, would it be possible when I was in heaven? Would someone be my mate? I meant, in heaven, I would be wrapped in God's perfect love, and my soul should be beautiful and healthy. There would be angels who loved me, wouldn't it? Feeling in my body drained away until finally, all was nothing. Kathy's POV. Heck, I ran into a car and my bones were broken. I tried to move my arms, only to hear my bones rattle. The huge pain crashed me. Rubbing my head, I opened the eyes, only to see the white ceiling of my room. Eek, it was just a dream. But the pain was true. What happened? Kathy? Catherine? Abby called my name gently. I hadn't heard such a gentle voice for a long time. I meant we often quarreled after we grew up. Why did she call me in this way? My gaze landed on her. No, them, Abby and Jasper. They were sitting together with Abby's arms on Jasper's neck and her butt on his lap. The fact was that I didn't believe they matched each other. You know, Abby was the kind of girl that shone like diamonds. She should be the focus of the crowd wherever she went. Pretty, smart, and diligent, she was the type who would always gain A+ in class. But Jasper was a bad boy who was usually late for class. He had the body of an adult werewolf, but the stupid mind of a child. But when Abby knew Jasper was her mate, she fell in love with him unconditionally. Are you all right? She stood up on noticing my gaze. Jasper also gave me a concerned glance. My eyes traveled back to Abby. Wait, why were her eyes full of guilt? All of a sudden, what happened before flashed in my mind. She merely stood there when I was mocked. She remained unmoved when the silly potato shoved me. She did nothing. She could have stopped her stupid classmates when I got hurt, and I may have died just because she chose to be a coward. Tears burst forth like water from a dam, spilling down my face. Is the wound hurting, sis? Should I call the nurse? She anxiously asked, touching my forehead to ensure if I was burning. I am not your sister. I waved my head to avoid her hands and roared at her. I didn't believe she could call me sis after what I suffered today. Fear showed in her eyes and she stepped backward. Kathy? You did nothing. I didn't look at her anymore. I closed my eyes, wishing to hold back my tears. You just did nothing while I was shoved to hit my head. I didn't mean that you should fight against these bastards for me, but at least you should dig me out from these wooden crafts. There could be only a conclusion that I am not your sister. I heard her sob. I peeped at her, whose face was covered with tears. Jasper stood behind her, patting her shoulder. Kathy? Her voice sounded so sad, but it was she who did wrong in the beginning. Beat it, I murmured. She just stood there like a statue. Finally, I made up my mind and shouted, Go! Beat it! This time she left and took Jasper with her. Fine, only me now. The loneliness swirled around my bed, and my head swam in the fire burning inside. I thought by meeting my mate I would embrace someone who loves me. However, I was only to find that I was completely and utterly alone in this world. Nobody loved me. Nobody. I should know it already. I should know it when my mother refused to bring me with her to attend the party. I should know it when my father scorned me just because I wanted to hug him. And I used to believe Abby loved and concerned about me, but it turned out to be that she didn't. No, there was someone I could trust. Quickly, I grasped my cell phone, which was put near my pillow. Such an easy movement even made my wound ached. I opened the contact lists and picked the familiar name. Joy? I asked once the phone was connected. Lambkin? Oh, again, this silly nickname. SOS, Joy. I am in trouble. Only you can help me. 10 minutes later. Gosh, freedom was lying ahead. My dear Joy, I was coming. Just now, I told my dearest Joy about all my grievances, and she agreed to share her room with me. I could leave there, a place full of sorrow and disappointment. Ignoring the pain in my head, I carefully crawled out of bed at tortoise speed. It's hard, but I made it. A good start. Here came the packing. Luckily, I didn't have much luggage. The most important thing was the money I collected in the past years. After throwing my clothes into the suitcase, I decided to get the spare key of Abby's car. Yes, my parents only bought a car for Abby. I fled to the living room and opened the drawer gently. Before I ferreted around for the key, I heard someone was yelling. The voice came from Abby's room. I glanced at the door, which was closed. Are you crazy, Abby? It wasn't my fault. Wait, it was Sidney. Why was he here in Abby's room? It wasn't your fault. Abby was roaring. It was the first time that I heard her voice was full of anger. I meant she had a good manner, especially in speaking. Oh, I found you, my little key. But was it right to leave Abby just for she chose to be a coward this time? I hesitated for a second. Yes, it's right. It wasn't the first time she didn't shoulder her responsibility as a sister. I came back to my room. It's you who ruined our relationship. She said she isn't my sister anymore. Abby's voice was crying. Honey, we're solving it. Don't cry. Jasper was trying to comfort Abby. So what? You want me to beg for her forgiveness? I felt the pressure. It came from the alpha's anger. Not a good idea to stay here. I determined to leave, but when I grasped my suitcase in hand, I realized that I couldn't leave it so easily. I should leave a note. Otherwise, Abby might mistake that I was missing and even reported the pack. I put my note on my bed. Okay, I admitted that I just didn't hope she worried about me. I sneaked out of my room. They were still arguing. I'll make an apology. Are you satisfied now? Sidney seemed to give in. Okay, you can do it now. No, someone was opening the door. I should go. I rushed out. When I finally reached the car, I heard Sidney was yelling Abby's name. When I placed my suitcase and sat on the driver's seat, I heard Abby roaring, Kathy! I just turned the key and made the engine ignite as I felt I was so determined. On driving the car out of the garage, I clocked Abby in the driving mirror. I noticed her face was covered with her tears, and she held my note in hand. But I just tried my best to ignore her. I didn't stop driving out. Abby was running after my car, but she finally disappeared from my driving mirror. Gosh, I made it. Nobody could find me now. I left without giving any hint. You may wonder, what did I write on my note? It was just a simple sentence. Time to leave. Kathy's POV. Joy watched me open my gift, tension playing over her kind features. What is it? Why do you look so serious? I asked. An answer had already occurred in my mind, but I wasn't sure. Just open it, Joy said with a pair of encouraging eyes. I untied the bow and unwrapped the gift box. A red ruffle, sleeveless top, and tight jeans shorts. On the first day I left, I made a promise that I must turn beautiful. I made a resolution that I must achieve 20 goals, and the 20 goals all pointed to one target. I could become the one slim enough to wear dresses of Brandy Melville. Am I slim enough? I can't believe it. Grasping the clothes in my hand, I felt I was a little nervous. Just try it. You are 108 pounds now, Joy encouraged. Yeah, it was me. The clothes fit well, making my figure a perfect hourglass. My dark red hair fell down my back that I have it waved. My lips were carefully tinted red, and my skin was flawless. I still remembered the moment when Joy took my glass off. Your blue eyes shone like the sapphire on the crown. You shouldn't hide it. And she handed me contact lenses. Later, we visited the hospital. The doctor had prepared me a well-designed plan to help me lose weight and become more healthy. I was told my dotted face was also caused by obesity. In the past days, I said no to everything covering high sugar, high fat, and high salt. I struggled against the bulge. Meanwhile, I had to continue eating some white pills, and I had to visit the doctor by season to get them. I'd lost everything I thought made my life bearable, and I was more alive than ever. You look like a magazine cutout dropped into my room. Joy praised and handed me a cake. I can't eat it. I tried to refuse, but the buttery aroma of the madeleines wafted under my nose. A reward for yourself. You really did a good job, Joy said. If you didn't try the most famous cake in this city now, you will regret it when we leave. Why? I mean, we don't plan to leave, do we? But I took the cake and gave it an experimental bite. The spongy layer gave way to teeth so easily, and lemon curd oozed into my mouth. Oh gosh, it had been a year since I ate cake last time. My taste buds wanted to sing under the tangy flavor. No, we're leaving, Lambkin. Joy glanced at me. We need to move, but where? I was shocked and I stopped eating, putting the cake aside. Your hometown. Her calm voice threw a bomb on me. What? Why? My hometown gave me nothing except bad memories and malice. There wasn't any werewolf who was nice to me. My cute lambkin, do you remember why you come to my home? She crossed her arms and stared at my eyes. Of course, I remembered it. To leave a place where no one loved me. At present, I could face this sad fact bravely. You knew, these werewolves just hated and bullied me. Doesn't Abby love you? Joy understood me well. Although Abby chose to be a coward, she concerned about me, at least much better than my parents. It isn't the true reason. She forced me to recall the fact I dared not to face yet, because I was refused by my mate. Every time I recalled what happened that day, I still felt there was a knife in my heart. Why did he refuse you? Why, lambkin? Gosh, I didn't want to say it, but meeting Joy's gentle eyes, I finally felt encouraged. I murmured, because he thought I was an ugly fatty who worthy nobody's love. Joy sat down on the packed luggage and looked at me. So that's the key, honey. She continued. Recall what you have done in the past year. You stole Abdi's group photo when you chose to leave, and now the photo was in your pocket. You always lost your thought when you stared at it. Yes, she was right. In the past year, I couldn't stop missing him. I couldn't stop imagining that we might already become a couple if I was a beauty when I met him. But the more I wanted was to revenge. I couldn't forgive him. I stared at his picture to remind myself he was a jerk that I needed to make him pay. And you desire to shift, don't you? My heart ached. Again, she said the truth. The hewolf was born with the ability to shift in their puberty, while the she-wolf couldn't complete the shapeshift alone while. The she-wolf must be marked by the hewolf. If I couldn't be marked by Sidney, I would remain in a human shape and just live like a human being, a stronger one. Joy, I just don't want to be refused for the second time. And I don't like to stay with my family. You know, sometimes it seems that I am invisible to them. I complained. I wasn't prepared to face my family and revenge on Sidney. About your family, I have something to tell you. There was a hint of sadness in her voice. What happened to them? To Abby, Mom, and Dad? Slowly she said, Your dad abandoned your mother and kicked her out. OMG, what on earth did everything happen? I shouted. Joy stared at me. You know my brother. He was much too prim and proper. No one could reach his requirement as a good mate. I knew it. Now, pack your bags, we'll leave. There was nothing I need to scare. I encouraged myself in my mind. Everything would be better. I was pretty beautiful now. By the way, there will be a dance ball where Sidney will participate. I think it is the best chance for you two guys meet. Suddenly, Joy said when I was going to pack my luggage. What should I do in the ball, Joy? I was a little anxious. I would meet Sidney again. How should I start the revenge? First, become the eye catcher in the dancing pool. Joy said, and she looked like she had a card up her sleeve. Although you are already freaking beautiful, you also need to show off your beauty. Second, reject all the guys who want to dance with you, but give them your charming smile. Third, if Sidney becomes interested in you and asks you for dance, reject him either. I promise his curiosity will be excited, and that will be a good start of your revenge. An evil smile occurred on Joy's face. Last but not least, never let him discover who you are. Yes, thanks to these white pills I ate, my wolf currently became inactive, so I got the chance to hide my identity. So, when I was at the party, I did all I should. I swayed in the dancing pool for a while, and I could feel there were many gazes focused on me. I refused all the he-wolves who wanted to hook me. Although I was extremely curious about Sidney, I didn't even take a glance at him. And now, I just pretended that I sat beside Sidney at random. How would he respond to me? When I stepped closer to him, I couldn't stop thinking. What if he recognizes it as you at the first sight? My wolf suddenly said. She had been extremely quiet these days. Impossible to death, I said. I mean, he never regarded me as his mate. He must not even look at me carefully and remember how I was like. This was the first time I could look at him after the whole year had passed. I mean, my mate became even better. He grew taller and stronger. His tousled, dark brown hair was thick and lustrous. He had dark eyebrows while his eyes were ocean blue. At this moment, his eyes were covered with steam, like the mist among the ocean. While I was still staring at his face, he stood up and threw his arms on my waist. And his hug was so tight. His hoarse voice mumbled, "Kathy, oh my moon goddess." I felt all of my emotions were out of my control and my heartbeat was fast. How could he recognize me? I had changed a lot. I didn't know how to react. I even didn't know how did I feel, happy or mad. My wolf started to roar. Red warning. You want to give up revenge in the last second. Shut up, I didn't. Then I asked her carefully, did his wolf greet you? Has he known I am Kathy? But Sidney mumbled again, his voice became clearer. Kathy, I miss you. Yesterday I participated in a dance ball. It was so boring. You knew it was a business ball that most of my friends couldn't join in, and I just got so drunk and forgot anything. Help! I got injured. Someone came. But Abby ignored me. Heck, I could only watch myself turn into a box in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Damn, Abby even loot me. Abby refused to talk with me since Catherine left a year ago, and she treated me with hatred. The last time when we had a gym class, she hit my head with a basketball. She said it was an accident, but I knew it wasn't. I knew she didn't forgive me yet. It was me who did wrong and should take responsibility for Kathy's leaving. My brain fried up at that time. It was no excuse, I know. I owned my behavior. I gave her only my anger and malice. In my heart, I retracted all the hurting words I ever said. They were never a true reflection on her. It was just my inner demon. Eventually, I saw what she meant all along. I missed her so much. When I was going to sleep, I thought of her chubby cheek. It was cute. When I took a lunch break, I remembered her brilliant eyes. They were covered by glasses, but still beautiful. My phone vibrated. It's my mom. Mom? Actually, I didn't like it when I had to communicate with her, because she was seldom concerned about my life. She only commanded me like a senior instead of loving me as a mother. Come back in an hour. There is something I need you to present. She didn't even give me a second to answer yes or no. Such a bitch. Sorry, guys, I have something important to leave. I sat up. Other guys all gave me smile or nodded their heads, but Abby just ignored my words, as she always did. I didn't save Sidney. He didn't say anything. I didn't think I did wrong. He made Kathy leave, and I just didn't save him in a game. What I did wrong was that I didn't protect my sister well. I just desired her to come back. I backed to my home. Life was in a mess after Kathy left. My dad became a jerk that my mom couldn't bear him anymore and left. It was his drinking that bust up his marriage. Every day when I backed home, I could only see empty wine bottles and drunk father. One night I quarreled with him and I said something hurting, but he finally understood what he did. Later, he devoted himself to his career and hardly went home. So I invited Jasper to share my room. Oh, he was standing in front of me currently. I could feel his spicy scents. He wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Why didn't you call me to pick you home, honey? I gently rubbed his arms. The cyber cafe is very close. There were times that I felt myself was like a butterfly who yearned for the cocoon to be safe with walls protected, and Jasper became the wall when Kathy and my parents left. Ding dong. Someone pressed the doorbell. Would it be Sidney again? He always found an excuse to visit me and asked if Kathy had come back. In the beginning, I was a sister, filled with bitterness I couldn't control. Sometimes I believed I was going to ruin Sidney. I was going to see that he paid. I had been so mean to him, but he apologized and never fought back. Finally, I could only sigh and ignore him. To my surprise, the person who knocked on the door wasn't Sidney. She was a young girl. She landed her gaze on me and said, "Morning?" A kindly twinkle came into her eyes. but I didn't believe I knew her, although she looked friendly and a bit familiar. I waited for her to tell me what she wanted, but she was visibly hesitating that she only mouthed something. But I was running out of my patience. The tenderness and shrewd understanding in my manner had already disappeared when Kathy left. "What on earth do you want?" I shouted. Kathy's pove. "What on earth do you want?" My sister yelled at me. I was totally stunned. I meant the girl standing before me didn't look like Abby at all. She looked so terrible. There used to be starlights in her eyes, but now I couldn't find it. She was still a beauty, but was like a puppet without a soul. Was it me who made her so sad? I asked myself. Hello? I smiled and flicked a nervous glance at him. I realized that I even gave a nervous giggle. "Who the hell are you?" She stared at me with a probing gaze. Before I gave an answer, I heard a man's voice. "Honey, who's here?" It was from Jasper. He also came to the door. "Who is this little beauty?" I saw a hint of amazement in his eyes. "I don't know." She fumbled for words. Abby gave him a sullen glare and he silenced. Yeah. Well, it was really hard to introduce myself. "Hasten to say who you are or I'll close the door." It sounded she was getting mad. "It's me, your sister." I said it quickly, but Abby looked angrier that she exclaimed firmly, "You aren't my sister." Jasper was also shocked. Although he said nothing, I could feel his look was raving that, "What the hell were you speaking?" "Beat it," Abby said and shoved me heavily with her elbow. I quickly gripped the door and yelled, "Abby, I am Kathy, and I am back." Her gaze roamed over me and she said with great joy, "Kathy?" She hugged me. I didn't realize that a hug from my sister would be so warm. Her hug was stronger than every time she had hugged me before. As if holding me wasn't quite enough, she had to feel every pound that I was pressed into every pound that was she. I heard her sob, and tears also flooded like the waters rushing down from a waterfall in my face. Then she let go of me. She was eating me with her eyes, running her hand through my hair, as if she couldn't believe I was here, in front of her eyes. She croaked, "Don't go, not again." "I won't, Abby," I said while we walked into the room. My heart softened as I understood that I had a sister who I could depend on. "Thanks, Abby. Now I have a family again." Kathy's pav. Our love is 6 feet under. I can't help but wonder, if our grave was watered by the rain, would roses bloom? Could roses bloom again? Listening to the music, I rode on the motorcycle Joy bought me and went to school. I prayed in my mind that I wouldn't meet Sidney on the first day. Last time I saw him in a dance ball, he cried and said he missed me. But it was just ridiculous. I became so anxious, guessing all kinds of reasons for him to say he missed me. However, it turned out to be that he just got drunk. He drank so many wines and said a shit of nonsense. "She is pretty," I heard one of my schoolmates exclaimed when I took off my headphone and helmet. So many students looked at me, although some of them pretended they didn't. I kept my head down and my gaze on the floor. Even though I was beautiful now, I hadn't accustomed to the probing gazes from others. You knew, in the past, most of the gazes were full of disgust and hate. Attention had brought me only trouble, like bullying or abuse. "Is she a new schoolmate? God, I want to be her desk mate," an unfamiliar voice said. I tried to ignore them. Staring at the ground, I walked to the teacher's office. A blonde handed me my schedule. I was lucky as this term just began. I meant I would be less like an outsider. Gosh, the first class was statistics taught by Mr. Robert. I had to visit the B corridor and classroom B307. However, a girl, tall and slender, wearing a yellow dress attracted my attention when I was on my way. Her long and wavy black hair was so smooth and silky, as if it was tailored from black fabric. She was kissing a handsome boy very passionately. The name of Carol bounced around inside my skull. I was totally stunned and unable to speak it. You knew Carol was the only friend I had in this school. She never let her hair grow in the past 18 years, and she only had an interest in girls. The girl finished the kiss and noticed me, giving a questioning look. I guessed it was because my eyes and mouth were frozen wide open in an expression of shock. She kept staring at me when she talked about something with the boy. He glanced at me and left. Then the girl walked straight to me and smiled. "Little bunny, why did you stare at me?" She even pinched my jaw. What on earth was she doing? I pushed her hands away. "Hi, Carrot," I greeted. The smile disappeared from her face. She hated eating carrot and being called as Carrot. But I was an exception who could call her in this way, because all the carrot juice her mother made was poured into my stomach when we were young. I am not Carrot, she shouted at me. But you are Carrot, I said. Her girlish face overlapped with the one in my memory when she got angry. Stop calling me this way. No, she was truly mad. It's me, Carrot, I said. But Carol didn't recognize me, as she even cursed me. Shut up, bitch, or I will make it with my slap. But it was me, you stupid, I whined. Carol gazed over me, and she looked still confused. There was a deep frown on her face. Do I know you? She asked with her eyes widely open. Okay, I would help her remember me. Carol White, you played fire when you were 7, which almost burned your house. Carol was shocked by what I said, and I just continued. You hated the heels your mother bought and threw it to the bin secretly. My cutie kitten, Kathy? She shouted triumphantly and gave me a bear hug as she always did. Carrot, I threw myself on him, hanging in her neck. I missed you so much. She caught me by my waist, with a big smile on her face. It took several minutes for both of us to calm down. You become gorgeous, Carol praised. I didn't even recognize you at the first glance. You also changed a lot. You were a boyish girl who was proud of wearing rainbow ties and a rubber bracelet. Now she looked so girlish and gave up all her rainbow things. Carol was so embarrassed that she blushed scarlet. She rubbed her head and explained, Well, I had a relationship with a girl, but she cheated on me that she didn't love hewolf at all and screwed with he-wolves. Making my mind to revenge, I seduced her boyfriend. Then I realized boys weren't that sucked. That's how everything happened. Oh my God, how many things had happened when I wasn't here? How did you find she had no interest in hewolf? Well, loving a hewolf was good, but being a bisexual girl also good. As long as Carol could feel happy, everything would be okay. Someone told me. A hint of guilt occurred in her eyes. Why? Then I noticed Sidney step toward us. Well, my mate became even more glitter after a year. I meant he grew taller and stronger. His tousled dark brown hair was thick and lustrous. He had dark eyebrows while his eyes were ocean blue. If there was something different, it must be his expressions. His usually playful smile had been replaced by a poker face. I could only feel lucky that my wolf was quite under the effect of these pills I ate to lose weight that he couldn't recognize me. Hey, how are things? Who's this chick? Sidney said while he hugged Carol with a hint of a smile in his eyes. Were my eyes playing tricks? They just greeted each other like best friends. Carol, I can't understand. You became friends with this jerk? Kathy's POV. The laughter evaporated from Sidney's eyes. Jerk? It was easy to tell from his mien that he felt offended. Why do you call me a jerk? We meet for the first time, don't we? Whatever, I just took him as Mr. Cellophane and ignored him directly. I stared at Carol. I don't know why you become friends with this jerk, but I think you'd better give me an explanation in the lunch break. Cat? Carol called my nickname and wanted to say something, but I had already run away. On the one hand, I didn't want to say anything to Sidney. On the other hand, it was my first class at school, so obviously I didn't want to be late. I still couldn't accept that Carol and Sidney become friends, but Carol was a friend that I knew since we wore diapers. Mr. Robert entered the classroom and started his teaching. In the beginning, everything was fine, and I tried to listen to him carefully. However, my eyelids were drooping over the dry academic phrases and infinite calculations. I set my textbook up and used it to hide my face. Therefore, Mr. Robert couldn't notice that I fell asleep. But the textbook fell when my head hit it, whose noise awoke me. Opening my eyes, I found all the students were laughing at me. Mr. Robert stared at me with his cold gaze, but he let me go this time. I couldn't sleep anymore, and I tried to act like a good girl, but it was hard. Although I was in the classroom, my thought had traveled out. I remembered that I didn't tell Carol why I left there for a whole year, so she didn't know it was all because of Sidney. There were so many students in this school. Why must she become friends with Sidney? Damn, meeting Sidney made my wolf fret. She had been staying quiet since I was refused by him last time, and she became more silent due to the pills I ate to lose weight. The bell finally rang. But I couldn't go to the dining hall at once because Mr. Robert asked me to collect the quiz paper and send it to his office. What the fuck? Why did Sidney show up in the teacher's office? I put these quiz papers down and rushed out. I didn't want to greet him. He followed me. As an alpha, he ran faster than me that he easily caught me. "Cat, why do you avoid me?" he asked and grasped my arms. "I don't even know you." I got rid of his hand. "Why couldn't I avoid you? Besides, stop calling me that." "You don't know me, but you call me a jerk?" he said with a smirk. "I am Sidney Winchester, Carol's friend. Although we had a bad beginning, I believe we can correct it at present. Nice to meet you." He reached his hand to me. Great. Was this the way he had seduced so many beautiful girls? "I had to find Carrot," I said, and intended to leave. He stopped me with his slender arms. "Why can you call her Carrot? She hates this name the most." "Because I am her best friend." Damn, I just wanted to leave. I was afraid that I might be identified if I continued to talk. "I haven't seen you before at this school. I heard you just transferred. How could you become her best friend within one day?" His probing gaze landed on me. God, why was he so difficult to handle? "It's none of your business, Mr. Nosy." I couldn't let him discover my identity before I took revenge. "I've told you my name was Sidney, and you could call me Sid." He even smiled at me, his usually playful smile. Heck, I felt my wolf was excited. She wanted to feel how his lips moved a kiss and how his hands followed the curves of my body. "Be quiet," I told my wolf silently. I was so feared that I would be recognized by him under the telepathic connection between our wolves. "He was your mate," my wolf said. "A mate who refused me," I yelled in my mind. My wolf became silent. "Let's go to lunch together. I just have something to talk with Carol." To my surprise, he suddenly said. He didn't say anything when we walked to the dining hall, and I kept thinking, what's the best way to take my revenge? Was it a good idea to make him fall in love with me and kick him out? He said I was disgusting. I was curious about how his face would be like when he knew he dated with his mate, that he used to feel disgusting. "It's stupid. He wants you and you want him." My wolf spoke again. "No, I just want to revenge," I said. "Your mate and you're destined." "Shut up. He hurt me first. He must pay." "Here, Cat and Sid." Carol waved her hands. I sat beside Carol while Sid sat against me. "There is a music concert this Saturday. Would you two guys want to attend?" Carol suggested. "Yes, I'd like it," I said to Carol but glanced at Sidney. "I'd love to either," he said. "Abby." I called her name on seeing her and Jasper found the seat. "How's everything going?" Abby asked while sat down beside Sidney. "Wonderful," I answered after recalling what happened today. After all, I got a plan to revenge on Sidney. Oh, I just remembered there was someone else who also should pay. For instance, the little bitch Bella who always made fun of me. And the silly potato who shoved me and made me hit the shelf and heavily injured. I should find him out. Sidney's POV. The girl named Kat attracted my attention. God, I even didn't know her true name. But she tried to avoid me. If I didn't catch her, she must have run away. Gosh, she was so familiar, I heard my wolf speaking. "Do you know who she is?" I asked silently. "Not sure, but she is beautiful." My wolf was getting excited. "Calm down. You're making things worse. Kat didn't look like the kind of easy she-wolf." "I don't think so." "Why not just ask about her full name? Or you could touch her. I could figure it out if you touch her." "Touch her?" I reached out my hands and waited for her to shake, but she refused. I tried to find out if there was any hint by asking her questions, and apparently she wasn't that cooperative. Damn, who the hell was this gal? The only thing I could do was to create more chances to chat with her. Carol called her Kat. Kat could be a nickname for so many names, like Kathleen, Katrina, Caitlin, and Catherine. No, she couldn't be Catherine. It's weird, but I just realized that I didn't miss Kathy anymore after Kat appeared. Carol was asking if we wanted to attend the concert, and Kat said yes. Of course I should attend. She smiled when I agreed to attend the concert. Her smile face became a lingering image in my mind. She knew Abby? OMG, who was this hot chick? Anyway, there was enough time ahead of us. A whole term. Kathy's POV. We were werewolves. Why should we study vampires? They lived far away from us, and we seldom had conflicts. I bent over the desk, scribbling on my notebook. Vampires are something very smart while they're vicious. Although they have already invented the replacement of human blood, they keep hunting humans just to show off their power. Miss Ursula burbled on about vampires, but the whole class was really boring. I glanced at my watch. There were 5 minutes left. I just lied on the desk and listened to the tick of my watch. Finally, the bell sounded for the end of class. I grasped my backpack and rushed out. Today's study was over. I jumped to my motorcycle and drove to a fast food shop. I must get there earlier than Abby. We'd agreed that we would meet at the shop, and the one who came later paid for the bill. We always played such kinds of little games. When I arrived, I rushed to the counter. However, in a rush, I bumped into someone. Cat? I looked up, only to find it was Sidney, and I noticed Abby also entered the shop. Gosh, why did he just haunt me like a ghost that I could meet him everywhere I went? Sorry, I tried to push him away. That's not a good attitude to apologize. He grasped my sleeves. No, Abby was marching closer to the counter. I grasped her sleeves when she passed by. You bitch, Abby shouted and managed to wiggle free. Stop her, please. I said to Sidney. What? He released me. Although he looked confused, he followed my words. Beat it. Abby yelled to Sidney, but I ran to the counter already. A chicken salad. Take out, I ordered, and Abby also got rid of Sidney. It's unfair. You gotta help her. Abby argued. Come on, how many times had Jasper stopped me? I said. Okay, you win, Abby said and studied the menu. Hello. Sidney stepped to me. Hi. I remembered the plan that I had to seduce him and abandon him. Your face is stamped with hostility. Why? He asked. Are you joking? I squeezed a fake smile, but he continued speaking. I know you are trying to hide some things in front of me. I'll find it out. My heart skipped a beat. Did he know something already? At the same time, my wolf was happy. Did you betray me? I asked my wolf. It's impossible that he discover my little tricks without her betrayal. No, I didn't, my wolf said. Why are you so happy? He wants you. Can't you feel it? My wolf asked. He is a jerk if he wants a girl who isn't his mate, I said to my wolf, who became silent. Sidney was still staring at me. Maybe what he said was just a bluff. Anyway, it wasn't a good idea to stay here. See you tomorrow. I grasped the salad and rushed to my motorcycle. When I just wore my helmet, I noticed Sidney was staring at me, although he didn't follow me. When our eyes met, he smirked. I started the motor and left. When I arrived at my home, I realized that Jo was waiting for me. She noticed the salad in my hand and was very disappointed. How's your first day? Why not just back home and eat? Sidney's POV. Have you known who she is? I asked my wolf when I realized the girl who ran into me was Cat. You only touched her sleeve, not her skin. Come on, why are you so excited if you don't know who she is? She is hiding something. My wolf replied. Hiding something? I didn't understand, but I saw her eyes widened when I said it. Things became interesting. Just touch her, grasp her hand, or hug her. My wolf egged me. She won't like it, I refused. Then how could you figure out who she is? Was there a glint of mockery in my wolf's voice? You have already known who she is, haven't you? My wolf didn't reply. Tell me who she is if you know it. This girl is driving me crazy. She is so hot and cute. Don't worry. You'll have the chance to save her tomorrow. Save her? What do you mean? Have you talked with her, wolf, and schemed something? Yes, we talked. You're just so stupid in love. Cupid once shot on you, but you pulled the arrow out. You won't discover what love is if we didn't play the role of Cupid and fire another arrow directly at your heart. Are you still my wolf? What the fuck are you talking about? That's why you could seduce the C-cup girl while you couldn't even get a C in Introduction to Werewolf. Pay more attention to your study, dude. You can tell me straightly who she is, can't you? Not the right time. Then when? Maybe tomorrow, whenever she gave up her plan. What plan? My wolf didn't say anything. I could only watch the girl leave. Damn, even her dark figure could make my heartbeat fastened. And there was an air of expectation and great curiosity inside me that I truly hoped time could fly faster and tomorrow could come. Kathy's POV. Joy didn't blame me for I chose to eat outside. You could spend your time with Abby as long as you wish, your siblings, but do remember your cute aunt when you buy delicious food. Joy was always so considerable and nice. I kissed her cheeks and kept thinking, would she really want to eat the salad I buy? I mean, the salad was healthy, but not that yummy. Today was good until I felt my stomach ached. The salad I ate might be something unclean or bad. I visited the toilets at least 5 times before I could finally lie on my bed. When I arrived at school the next morning, I deliberately rushed to my class without greeting anyone. Okay, I guess nobody had noticed me as I just rushed so fast. I didn't want to chat with anyone. I wasn't recovered from the Sidney's POV. I swear that I haven't loved our school like this moment before. I saw the motorcycle of Kat, this red behemoth. She had arrived already. Her helmet hung on the handlebars. I touched it, imagining I was touching her head. She was so cute. You'd better stop smirking. It's silly, my wolf said. Shut up. I walked to my classroom. So when and where should I save her? I chatted with my wolf. Let nature take its course. Wait, you couldn't just make me dangling. What's your stupid scheme with her, wolf? Don't worry, you will know it sooner. Okay, let me see what would happen later. Damn, today would be better if there wasn't Mr. Jared's class. He bared his nicotine-stained teeth when he was talking, which were all crooked, and he would walk into the students instead of just standing on the platform. Didn't he know he got a foul breath like the stink of stale beer? Finally, the class ended, and it's time for lunch. As usual, I crossed the corridor to get to the dining hall. However, I heard voices coming from upstairs. You're crazy. It was Kat's voice. She was on the top floor, and she quarreled with someone. I ran upstairs and saw a group of students gathered in a circle. You little bitch, how dare you to seduce my mate? Through the crowd, I saw Bella reached her hand towards Kat's face. What happened? I tried to find a way to approach them, but it was hard to cross the thick students. Kat stopped Bella with her arms. However, Bella managed to scratch a wound with her claws. Bella was shifting into the wolf. Kat took the opportunity to push Bella, slamming her to the wall. If you aren't a slut who tried to trip me when I passed just because of your poor jealousy, you wouldn't be abandoned by your stupid mate, Kat shouted. Sweat poured down her face, but didn't affect her beauty. Bella yelled in pain while she fought back. Shut up, coquette. Without you, we couldn't break up. Kat's beautiful hair had been pulled mercilessly. But she shoved Bella smartly with her elbow, which made Belle fall hard on her bottom. You'll pay for it, Bella exclaimed while she started to search for someone in the crowd. I had a nasty feeling that she would represent a danger to Kat. Get out of my way, I shouted, but there was still a thin human shield in front of me. Someone stole out of the crowd carrying a glass bottle in hand. Damn, it was Alex. He had the gut to do anything getting enough money. You fuck, get out of my way! I yelled with the power of alpha. Students gave me away under my dominating alpha spirit. The whole world was thrown into silence except her sobs echoed in my ears. It was because of pain. The students ran off. They didn't want to face the anger of an alpha. Alex knelt down, begging for forgiveness. I ignored him and stepped to my girl. She curled up in a tight ball, with her knees tucked up at her chin and her hands wrapped around her head, evidently in pain. And around her were the pieces of glass. Her head was bleeding. I took off my clothes to stop the bleeding of her wound. Don't touch the wound. I'll deal with it. Thanks. She followed my words and put down her hands. I glanced at her face, tears flowing down rapidly. I just did what a friend should. When I touched the wound, I felt my heart was hurting. Wait, I touched something hard. A piece of glass, like a sharp knife, pierced her scalp. It might hurt, I warned before I pulled it out. Kat clenched her fists to stop herself trembling from pain. Damn, she looked heavily injured. God, please stop the bleeding. Finally, I bound her to wound up. Don't worry, Kathy is okay, my wolf comforted. Thus I can get my breath back. I felt relieved. Wait, Kathy? Oh no, I spilled the beans, my wolf mumbled. Kathy? I couldn't help but spoke her name, and I saw her eyes widely open. She was my mate, Kathy? Doom! Fuck my life! Kathy's POV. What the hell that he called my name? He recognized me. My wolf became excited. Hug him. Kiss him. Impossible. I'll never kiss a man who had rejected me and scolded me. He wasn't my knight, although he was supposed to be. He knew he was wrong. You see, he was begging for your forgiveness. I looked at Sidney. He became glazed with a glossy layer of tears. As he blinked, they dripped from his eyelids and slid down his cheeks. He seemed to be very regretful that he even bit his lips tightly. But he was a jerk. When our eyes met, almost as a reflex action, I pushed him away. With all my efforts, I ran downstairs, ignoring the pain in my forehead. "Kathy!" His yell came from my back. "Wait, Kathy!" Without glancing at Sidney and just hearing his voice, I could imagine that he would like a powder keg and spark flying from his lips. Hearing his footfall behind me, I fastened my steps and finally got to the park. My cool big motorcycle stood here. I jumped on it and quickly wore my helmet. "Kathy, don't run, or you will drive Sidney crazy." Alpha couldn't bear his mate run away from him. His rage would destroy everything. My wolf tried to stop me. No, I should run. I didn't know why, but I was sure that I had to run. "Stop, Kathy." The alpha's voice was ordering my wolf. She was going to take control of my body. Sidney had also arrived at the park, but he came late as I had already started the engine. "No, please, Kathy, no." Sidney was howling. So what? He deserved it. He deserved all my hatred. But his alpha spirit did have an effect on me. I must escape this place at once. Otherwise, my wolf would force me to mate with him. Gathering all my wits, I rode away. I didn't back to the home of Abby and me. Instead, I drove to Joy's house. Someone roared in bitterness and anger far away. But I didn't care. All I wanted now was to stay in my room and take a long rest. Sidney's POV. Pain washed over me like the long, slow waves on a shallow beach. I looked at the stairs where she had just left. She ran in front of my eyes. She didn't want to be with me. No, I must find a way back and make it right. Find her, catch her, and take her back to my life. But where would she be? Images that Kathy with Abby, with Carol, with Jasper flashed in my mind. They all knew it. They all knew she was my mate. But no one told me. Rage of my mate's escape and friend's betrayal came out faster than magma and were the same destructive. My wolf was controlling my body that I just rushed to the dining hall. Students should be eating there as it was lunchtime. Releasing all my alpha power, I could hear objects broke and unfamiliar roars from the crowd. They sounded feared. "Abby, Carol," I shouted. "Who the fuck could tell me where she is?" Listening to my roar, students gave me away to Abby and Jasper, who were sitting at one table. I rushed to them. "She ran. Tell me where she is." "Who the hell are you talking about?" Abby asked. "Kathy." Abby's tooth turned into a fang once she heard the name. She turned into wolf shape and tried to resist my power. "If she ran, it must be your fault. Tell me where she is." I grasped her arms, but she pushed my hands off. "No way. She ran means that you are the last one she wants to see." That wasn't something I wanted to hear. I grabbed her neck and intended to throw her to the wall. But another paw had stopped my actions. It was from Jasper. "Calm down," he said. I released Abby and grasped him instead. "Tell me where she is." I growled and strangled his neck. He became breathless, but he didn't reply. Abby kept hammering me with her paws. Let go of him, but it didn't make me feel pain at all. She was just a beta and her power was weak. "I want her back," I yelled and strengthened my force on Jasper's neck, whose face went red without enough breath. "She lived with my aunt in the only wooden house in the town," Abby said with a crying voice. Damn, I had forgotten that Abby was her sister. They should live together? God, I should have remembered it. I threw Jasper aside and left the dining hall. In wolf shape, I could arrive at her house within 10 minutes. Joy's POV. I was sipping my coffee and reading the newspaper when I noticed the spirit of Alpha. Bang! The crazy Alpha was knocking on my door and yelling for Kathy. I folded the paper neatly. The news wasn't that interesting compared with an Alpha who was crazy for my niece. He started hitting the door, and the door was crumbling. Luckily, my sweet lambkin always wore earplugs when she slept, so she couldn't be wake up by the loud noise. I watched him from the peephole. His fur was raising, might because of his anger or pain. I couldn't open the door for him. A crazy Alpha could be destructive. "Open the door, hag." He discovered I was peeping. It was impolite to call a she-wolf who was just 30 years old a hag, and it was worse to broke my door. "Where is Kathy? I want to see her." He looked at me as I had interposed myself between him and the doorway. "Listen, dude, it looks like you're as nutty as a fruitcake, and I can't let a madman see my niece. Calm down first. Let me see her." "No way unless you calm down. You'll scare her. You may even hurt her." "Hurt her?" He looked at me in blank amazement, and he was shifting from wolf to human. "Sorry, madam, can I see her now?" He stared at my eyes sincerely after he was in human shape. Her room was at the end of the corridor on the second floor. I gave him the way. Thanks. He took a deep breath and began to climb the stairs. If I had to use a sentence to describe my niece's mate, I could only say he is not that bad. Sidney's POV. I entered the room. Pictures on the wall attracted my attention first, most of which were Abby and her, from childhood to grown-up. And Carol also appeared in these pictures. She was her only friend in school. I hoped my pictures could be pasted on this wall. Then I noticed her bed. She lay in bed looking frail, with a blue quilt wrapping her body. I stepped closer to her, noticing that she had slept with earplugs stuffed up her ears. Sitting down, I ran my greedy eyes over her face. Finally, she backed and was in front of my eyes, my mate, my love. Gently, I left a kiss on her forehead and laid down beside her. I focused my eyes on her until I couldn't hold my heavy eyelids. Kathy's POV. Ran. I was running as something was chasing me. Something powerful, something crazy, something in a great rage. But I had run to the edge of the cliff. Looking down, I could see nothing except a strong mist. But he was approaching. Determined, I closed my eyes and jumped down, but this creature had caught my arm. I opened my eyes to see what this evil wanted to do, only to see the ceiling. It was just a dream. Wait, I still felt there was a hand on my arm. OMG, it was actually a hand. My eyes traveled. The short hair and brawny arms indicated it was a hand from a hewolf who was lying on my bed beside me with his face buried. A hewolf was on my bed. He must be a jerk. I must teach this evil a lesson. I grasped the coat hanger near my bed and decided to fire the first shot with my full strength. I gave his arm a hit, and a painful moan came from him. He quickly woke up and got up, rubbing his injured arms. I twisted the coat hanger into a paddle shape and yelled in a shrill voice, "Why on earth are you in my bed?" At the same time, he growled, "Why did you beat me?" Anyone could beat an unexpected guest who suddenly appeared on her bed. Why on earth are you in my bed? Well, I have to admit he is a bit silly, my wolf whispered. I agree, but you'd better be silent so I could query him. I said to my wolf and focused my attention on Sidney. He was in so much pain his complexion was ashen. I talked to your aunt and she agreed on me to take care of you. I misunderstood him. Maybe I had beat him too heavy, but he was a jerk. Why did you come to take care of me? I put the coat hanger down. Because I concerned about my mate. His voice sounded sincere. I smiled. The chance finally came. The chance of my attack round. Mate? Shut up. The sight of you just makes me want to spit on your freaking arrogant, annoying, and number one jackass face. And if you ever think that you can have me as mate, you can shove your delusion along with your stupid ego back to your fucking asshole. Nobody wants to be your mate. Despair showed in his eyes that he had also realized how hard he had hurt me before. I just returned what he said to me. Sorry, I know I was wrong. I apologize for all my fault, and I could do anything as long as you forgive me. He was begging. I had never seen him so humble before. In my memory, the Alpha could never be so humble to an Omega because he was the strongest. And I felt my soul was divided into two parts that half wanted to kiss him. He looked sexy when he gave up her dignity as an Alpha in front of me. However, the other half wanted to kill him because I could vividly remember he was a bastard who had hurt me deeply. If I was still the ugly and fat Kathy, will you apologize to me? You are just a jerk who wants to sleep with a beautiful she-wolf. No, Kathy. I don't want to plead for myself because I knew I was totally wrong, but these days you left, I really missed you and felt sick of what I had done to you. He stood up. Could you please give me a chance to make amends? My brain was fried when I said these vicious words. I didn't say my true desire. I need you. I want you. And I hope you can back to me. Please, Kathy, be my mate. His words made me cry, but fallen flowers cannot go back to their stalk, and the hurt he made to me couldn't disappear just because of his apology. I had already become a mature one who wouldn't simply say yes in a moment of weakness. I'll visit Abby. I don't want to see you are still in my room when I am back. Otherwise, I will make you leave with my baseball bat. I rushed out of my room and decided to find Abby. Wow, I can't believe it was said by Sidney. Abby looked at me, holding a cup of tea. Honey, you have held this cup for over 10 minutes. Why not just put it down? Jasper reminded her. I am just so surprised, Abby said and put it down. I was the same as you when he apologized, I said. Wow, it really rare for him to apologize. I mean, I have never seen an alpha apologized. Abby finally drank her tea. Well, he may indeed regret, Jasper said. Of course he does. Abby gave a mysterious smile, and he won't simply give you up. What do you mean by saying that? I felt quite confused. When you left, he excused to stay at your bedroom alone. I wanted to kick him out, only to find he was crying. Abby widened her eyes as if she still didn't believe what she had seen that time. And he asked me if I can give him your photo or something else. He cried for me? Well, it really shocked me. In these days when I was missing him, did he also miss me? Forgive him, Kathy. You two love each other. My wolf tried to change my mind. Wolfie, you can't just be easily bribed by his tears. Not only did he cry for you, he even intended to leave the pack and find you. But he was stopped by us, as searching for a girl who decided to leave is like looking for a needle in a haystack. This jerk tried to find me? Maybe he just pretended that he wasn't a vicious guy after hurting me and made me leave. I would send him to hell. Sidney's POV. How difficult would it be to chase the she-wolf you once hurt back? Well, I knew it couldn't be easy. But I didn't expect that I would be beaten by a coat hanger first, although she still looked beautiful with a weapon in hand. That she-wolf, my personal angel. Sometimes I believed I was in a locked room and only she got the key. She had it as if the moon goddess put it in her pocket. Frequently, I quarreled with my wolf, but at this moment we got an agreement. Bring her back. My wolf had organized a plan, and I intended to carry it. Catherine Winchester, I wanted you and I'll get you. Kathy's POV. I was on my way to school when the clouds gave their snow to the grass and trees. Winter came earlier than I had expected. I meant, yesterday was still a warm, sunny day, and I was so stupid to ride my motorcycle in a snowy day. The wind seeped through my gloves and my coat to drain my wolf. God, I really hoped I could take sanctuary in my warm room, cuddled up, resting. But the stupid school had stupid classes in such damn weather. No, my motorcycle went skidding. I struggled to control it and find a place to park it. The damn weather was even cold enough to make my wolf shiver. It seemed that I could only walk. I sighed and my breaths rose as new, white-puffed clouds. Terrible cold. I opened my umbrella only to find it was broken. Fine, just embrace the snow. For several seconds, I believed I was lucky because it wasn't raining at least. Heading to the school, I thought each step became a prayer for warmth. I swore I hadn't missed the classroom so much before. It was like heaven compared with the cold air outside. The snow became heavy. I looked down the road, seeing my footprint became evident in the snow, and I took care every time I placed my foot. A pair of shoes appeared in my gaze. I edged to avoid this guy, but the shoes just followed me. What the hell are you doing? I yelled and looked up, only to find it was Sidney, standing very close to me, wearing a thick scarf. I stunned, noticing he was carrying an umbrella in hand, which covered my head, but there was snow dropping to his shoulder. Together? He asked. No. I refused because I didn't want to accept the fake kindness from a jerk, but my mouth said a different answer as I coughed. Together. He ignored my refusal and used another hand to unclasp his scarf. I noticed his arm shook slightly when he made it. You should feel guilty, Kathy, my wolf whispered. Yeah, a bit, but he was a jerk, I said to my wolf. You do remember that I hit you with a coat hanger, don't you? I asked Sidney while I tried to walk out of the umbrella. But he still kept close to me and moved perfectly in step. It doesn't matter. Mates can have quarrels, he said while threw his scarf around my neck, and the scarf was extra long, half of which was still on his neck. No, I grasped the scarf and tried to stop him. I don't know how no spells. This bastard. His imperious attitude made me a bit uncomfortable. I wished I could fight against him on the road with fists, but I couldn't win an alpha. However, I had to admit the scarf was really warm, as if I could touch the warmth of his body through it. So I gave in and leaned to him, sharing his umbrella and scarf. For me, he was still a jerk, but a warm one. A couple sharing one scarf, it must be twice warmth. I heard a student say once we arrived at the school, and many gazes were focused on us. My wolf was elated with the thrill of being warmed by her mate. Kathy, you two are the perfect match. Idiot. Moon goddess never makes a mistake, so it is obvious we're the perfect match, I mumbled to my wolf. But you never admit you're mates. So what? I just think you should accept it. While I was chatting with my wolf carefully, I bumped into someone. Oh, Sidney stopped walking that I bumped into him. We arrived. He looked at me with a smile on his face. I looked around, finding that we had arrived at the hall and needed to part for different classes. You still look cold. Sidney stated his conclusion and hugged me. My brain went blank. His hug was so warm that I even want to take a winter slumber. He wants to warm you up with his body. My wolf was yelling. She was jumping out of my belly with joy. Thanks. My wits were back now. Hi, Sid. A male voice came from the crowd, which made me wide awake and alert. I left Sidney's hug. My time to revenge. I had remembered this voice for so long. It was this guy who had greeted me first when I came to talk with Sidney after knowing he was my mate. He shoved me and made me hit the shelf. We planned to have a party at Lance's house after school. Would you like to join us? He walked to us and asked Sidney. Who is this chick? Would you want to join? I stared at his face. I found you, silly potato. He noticed my gaze and frowned. Quickly, I brought a fist to his face, snapping his nose into the blood. He stepped backward, and I grasped the chance to stick my foot out and trip him. You slut! He seized my arms and pushed me roughly upon standing up. I was about to fall, but Sidney had grasped my waist. The silly potato didn't give up and intended to fight against me with his fists. Stop, Jack! Sidney roared with his alpha power in a sexy way. Well, sexy for me. No, he was a jerk, I reminded myself by mumbling silently. You chose her over me? Jack's mouth widened as if what had happened beyond his belief. Dude, I am your friend! I guess so, Sidney answered. He was in support of me? God, I couldn't believe it. Of course he would pick his mate, dummy. My wolf mocked me. But it seemed not only me who didn't believe what Sidney had done as Jack yelled in anger. Fine, enjoy your time with that slut, but don't expect me to comfort you when she dumps you. And bitch, mind yourself. I won't let you off so easily next time I meet you. Good, I haven't done with you yet, I rasped. Prepare to go through hell. Jack left after gazed at me in hatred, simmering with resentment. The following time, Sidney behaved in a totally different way from my memory. I didn't know where he got my term schedule and showed up in every class break. And he didn't bother me. He just stood in the corridor and staring at me until the bell rang. At lunchtime, I sat with Carol, Abby, and Jasper. I didn't know why, but the seat beside me was empty. I looked at Carol, but he avoided my gaze. Then Sidney just came and sat beside me. I couldn't kick him out, as he was also friends with the three. More astonishing, when some of his other friends came and greeted, Sidney would introduce them to me. There was only one thought in my mind. I might unable to continue my plan, because he turned into a gentleman. My plan started working. In the past whole day, she didn't hit me or scold me. Good beginning. I glanced at her, who was chatting with Abby. Girls always had so many things to talk about and share, and I could only sit on the sofa and watch boring TV shows. The host's hairstyle was like her, but she looked better with it. Thinking of that, I peeped at her. To my surprise, this time our eyes met. I quickly squeezed a smile and looked forward to her return. But she didn't. Instead, I noticed there was a hint of the devil in her beautiful eyes. What did she want? She would accept me, right? Huh. This boy glanced at me again. Look at his giggle. He would be a total idiot if he believed I would smile back. A year ago, he hurt me with his greatest malice. How could I forgive him so easily, just because he picked me over Jack? An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I would let him pay for what he had done 2 years ago at first. By then, I might consider showing him my forgiveness when he knelt down and begged. My inner demons wanted a good feed. Unable to resist its demands, I dialed a number. What I intended to do might be wrong, but I had to make it. And Sidney's cousin answered, quicker than I had expected. Saturday morning. Some males and females were playing games in the variety show on TV. Abby, Jasper, and Sidney sometimes would laugh at their silly behaviors in the show, and Sidney even spread himself out all over the sofa to laugh merrily. I also laughed, not because of the show, but because of Sidney. This poor little wretch didn't know what suffering he needed to go through later. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. It was tinny and grating, demanding someone to go to the door. "Kathy, open the door," Abby said. She and Jasper clung together. "I'll do it," Sidney said and stood up from the sofa. "Have you invited someone?" Abby whispered to me when Sidney was going to answer the door. And I only replied with a smirk. The doorbell rang again. Seconds later, I heard the door was open, and a yell echoed in the whole house. "Hi, Sid. Haven't seen you for a long time." Sidney's POV. Damn, I shouldn't open the door. I regretted upon seeing the face of Bowen. He was my cousin and lived with my family when he was young because his parents died young. But he ruined everything. My life was in a mess until he moved out. He was the last one I wanted to see. He contorted his lips into a toothy smile, trying to make it like a sincere one. "Haven't seen you for a long time." But his eyes weren't so compromising. The hint of evil was obvious. I could easily conclude that he came to annoy me like he always did. Memories flooded into my mind. He was a poor orphan as his parents died to fight for our pack. I really pitied for his experiences. So I really treated him very well and shared all I could with him when I was young. But he liked to rob what I have. In the beginning, he robbed my favorite teddy bear. Then he robbed my parents' attention, my room, and the girl I first liked. At that time, I wasn't old enough to know who my mate would be, and I thought it would be Autumn, a girl who was as beautiful as the autumn maple leaf. But Bowen ruined everything. Although I felt sad when I found they had sex in the bathroom, I thought it would be okay if he just truly loved her and bared his heart to Autumn before me. However, Bowen just hooked her to annoy me and abandoned her to make me more desperate. "What do you want?" I roared with all my efforts. "Wow, it seemed you were in a bad mood." He wanted to step in, but I blocked his way. But he shoved me and entered the house. "Take everything easy, bro. I'm here only to see my cute cat." "Get out!" I yelled. My tooth started aching as they wanted to change into the fang, and my hair was growing, indicating that I would turn into wolf shape. "Chill out, Sid." "Ha! You have no right to ask me to leave, my dear bro." He smirked at me and kept walking inside. Closing my eyes, I tried my best to simmer down, but a voice destroyed all my efforts. I heard Kathy calling his name. "Bowen." Followed was his laughter in response. "Cat! Bowen!" I couldn't control my anger and shouted. I opened my eyes, only to see his arm was around my mate's waist and my mate was leaning on his chest. No! She was mine. So I just rushed to them and threw Kathy into my tight hug after pushing Bowen's arm away. And I said, as calm as I could, although I felt my heart was burning, "Stay away from her." But Kathy was trying to push me away, and Bowen just watched us with a wry look. My young bro found himself a beautiful mate. No, I don't think so. Kathy finally got rid of my hugs. She walked directly to the sofa and sat down, without giving me even one glance. "Well, what happened between you two?" "It seemed I missed a lot," Bowen said, pretending he concerned about me. "I thought I had already lost. Kathy wasn't on my team. I wished our relationship could grow better, only to find it was getting worse. I guessed I need a place to calm down and think well. Maybe the cafe would be a good choice. Don't hurt her, or I'll kill you." I said to Bowen and intended to leave. He only replied to me with laughter. "I'm serious." Bowen's POV. What the hell? I watched Sid leave. Yesterday I received the call from Kathy, who invited me to Abby's house today. Although I didn't know she contacted me suddenly, I said yes, as it had been a long time since we met last time. More importantly, she was my younger bro, Sid's mate. He didn't tell me he found his mate. That tricky boy. "Kat?" I sat beside her. She was chewing the gum. Every time she felt nervous or depressed, she would chew the gum when she was young. "You've changed a lot. What has happened in the past years?" "Follow me. We have a lot to talk about." She stood up and guided me to the study. All I did was just following her. "Now find yourself a comfortable seat, then I'll begin." My moon goodness. She really told me a fabulous story. My younger bro hurt a kind girl, and now I had to help her to find justice. If I were she, I would cut the precious little bro of Sid and make it a cold dish, and I would serve it to him, asking if he wanted tomato sauce or barbecue sauce. I shared my opinion with my wolf. My wolf praised. "A ridiculous idea." "Haha, thanks. You became even crazier," my wolf concluded. "No, only you." Shut up, dude. You also enjoyed in this way in the past years. And I turned to the girl drinking water in front of me. So here comes my question. What? She frowned slightly. How should I help you to make my little bro realize what a huge fault he once made so I could see his crying face begging for your forgiveness? How to throw my little bro to the water and watch him floundering around in the deep end of a pool. The coffee had already become cold, but I hadn't even give it one taste. In the past 2 hours, I just sat here, stirring my coffee. I had to admit it that when I saw Kathy and Bowen standing so close, I got angry irrationally. They were old friends. They played well when we both were young, and they haven't seen each other for a long time. Maybe I should apologize to her. Damn, I just hoped she could be my personal angel for a lifelong time, and I didn't want anyone to rob her away from me. It would be nice if I had understood my feelings for her earlier before I hurt her with these vicious words. I hammered a nail in her heart, and now it cost me a lot to draw it out. And I had no one else to blame because it was me who pushed her away. So stupid. Sid, you really put yourself into big trouble this time. Before my mind turned in an endless loop, someone interrupted it. It was Bowen, who was stepping closer to me. God, indeed, I didn't want to talk to anyone except Kathy. What do you mean? I said with a cold voice. I got to know everything between you two just now, and I believe you deserved her hatred. He sat opposite me. You were so mean when you spoke these hurting words. God, once I saw his face, I couldn't help remembering the image of he and she hugged. And it drove me crazy that I wanted to rip him apart. Do you really understand how deep you hurt her? He continued speaking. My body was jolting with a new vigor, an untapped rage that was boiling up from my stomach to the rest of my body. I didn't even notice my fists were clenching until blood came from his nose. While he was rubbing his nose, I grasped his collar and roared at him like a lion. Absolutely I do! I hope it can be me who could replace her and suffer the pain, and I can do everything to ask for her forgiveness. Regret has swallowed me the day she left. Without her, the whole year, I was like living in the hell. I had never expected that I would say what I felt to Bowen. Okay, since you have already understood you hurt her deeply. He took my hands off his coat and continued. You should do whatever you can to win her heart back. What the hell was he doing? If he was the guy in my memory, he should scheme me and steal Kathy from me, so I could only give him a questioning look. Poor Sid, as a playboy, you just know nothing about girls. His eyes rolled back. You should bear your regret and love. You should let her know you've changed. By then your relationship may turn better. My wolf shared his opinion. It might work. You've remained a long silence, I murmured. I was also in sadness and regret. Don't forget that I can feel what you feel, Sid. Huh? I have said what I want. He turned up the collar of his coat. Don't blame me if she chooses to be with me this time. He left. See, a fox cannot hide its tail. Evils cannot be covered up. He planned to rob her away. I said to my wolf. But what he said was true, I guess. None of your friends have told you that before. What do you mean? Kathy's POV. As usual, I went to school, but today was just terrible. Carol was preparing for her term thesis. Abby and Jasper were enjoying their sweet private time. As for Sidney, I hadn't seen him for the whole day. I had the oddest feeling that he was avoiding me. And God, I really missed him, both my wolf and myself. Maybe it was time for me to find some new friends. The snow was so thick. Flurries of white cascaded from clouds of heaven-spun silver. I couldn't ride my motorcycle in such icy weather, so I had to walk home alone. The half-ice pellets bounced from my coat and hat. I raised a gloved hand to shield my eyes. I had anticipated the coldness and the sting of driven snow on my face, but not the ferocity of the wind made it hard to open my eyes. All I could do was to bow my head until my chin touched my chest and kept walking. But my feet were starting to freeze, and my footsteps were small, sinking in past my ankles with each stride. What a gloomy day, my wolf whispered. Can't agree more, I replied. I had only said 2 sentences this day, both of which were when my teacher quizzed me. I miss Sidney. If he was here, things would be much better. I have to remind you again that he is a jerk, but he is your mate. I know it. The purr of engine interrupted my talk with my wolf, and a black off-roader parked beside me. I looked at the car window. Someone was rolling it down. Kathy, followed the voice was a familiar face. Hop in, I'll drive you home, Sidney said. I opened the car door and jumped in. Thanks. As he wanted to give me a lift home, I had no reason to fight against with the cold and walk home, and inside the car was really warm. Suddenly, he leaned on me. Noticing his face approaching to me, I lost my ability to move as my whole body was numbed with cold. I traveled my gaze to avoid him, only to hear a small sound. He clipped the safety belt for me. Looked at the bright smile on his face, I felt my heart softened, then handed me a cup of hot cocoa, which really warmed my soul up. Do you believe in the fairy tale? My wolf asked. What? I didn't understand. When he appeared to pick you up, I thought about the knight who defeated the evil dragon and saved the princess. Don't you think you're on a white horse now? Kathy's POV. It was just crazy. I planned to send the boy sitting beside me to hell while he was doing his best to make me fall in love with him. Silence and silence. We both said nothing on the way to Joy's home. You're a bitch and he is a jerk. Would there be any better mates like you two? My wolf whispered. I would never accept a mate who enjoyed body shaming. If I stayed ugly and fat, would he behave in this tender way? Admit it, he is just a playboy and wants to sleep with me. Cora, Laura, and Summer. I could make a list of 2 pages if I counted all the girls having an affair with him. But you are a special one. You two are mates. He not only has a desire for your body, but also loves you deeply. Maybe. But I don't wish it is the spiritual force between mates that forces him to love me. I desire someone who truly loves me unconditionally. I want both sex and romance. What if he can give you both? My wolf asked. Before I started to think about this question, Sidney broke the silence. The weather is really terrible, right? Yes, the snow scrunched when he drove. It seems that you lost in thought just now. Actually, no. Again, the car was in a weird silence. But luckily, through the window, I discovered that we have arrived at Joy's house. Talk something to me, he said it seriously. What? I turned to him, only to find he put his hand over the lock button. Talk to me. I want to hear your voice. He was speaking in a dominating way. He was a bastard. I had already known it. But he was a hot one, my wolf praised. This something I couldn't deny, I said sincerely. He's slim, muscular, with an almost perfectly symmetrical face. That's why so many girls loved him. They were drawn to his body. But my pride wouldn't let me accept him. So what are you thinking about? Pride and Prejudice? My wolf jibed. Then greet Mr. Darcy for me. Have you still remembered you are a spiritual part of me? Of course. Then stop laughing at me. We are one. Then you should stop asking me to shut up. Should I count how many times you have forced me to shut up? Okay, stop talking. Kathy? Sidney called my name. OMG, I'd forgotten there was a hot jerk waiting for me to talk to him. You drew a blank. His voice was full of worry. What's wrong with you? Have a cold. Cold? Maybe. I thought I was radiating heat like a brick right out of the oven. Or there might be a volcano that could erupt at any time inside me. Your face is beet red, he said and put his right hand on my forehead. No, I didn't want him to touch me. He would make the volcano active. I successfully recoiled from his touch. But my body was so heavy that I couldn't control its falling. Kathy? He flung out an arm to stop me from falling. Are you okay? I couldn't answer. I was thrown into deep darkness. Kathy, you'll confront a risky challenge. It was my wolf. What challenge? A withdrawal. I didn't hear the full sentence. An hour later, I wanted to open my eyes, although my eyelids were so heavy. Watching the ceiling, I realized I was in Joy's house. The desire of water pushed me to sit up, but I felt I was so weak that I couldn't make such an easy movement. Although I just woke from a sleep, I still felt dazed and exhausted. Lie down and rest. Tell me what you want and I'll fetch it. Who was talking? I found the owner of the voice. Why was he here? Because it could only be he who helped you. My wolf answered. What? Some changes happened to your body. Don't you feel it? I looked down at myself. Gosh, my hands were swollen, and one of my hands was grasped by Sidney's big hands. Disgusting. I tried to move my hand away, but my wolf refused. She wanted to keep my hand at where it was. What happened? My voice was small and weak, but Sidney listened to my words. You went into a coma. He said and seized my other hand. Now, Both my hands were covered by his. The feeling was very wonderful that some energies were sent to my whole body through his hands. How could it be? I hated it when he touched my hands. But my wolf was becoming energetic, so I could only pull my hands back with all my efforts. Kathy. He wanted to say something and grasped my hands more tightly, but a tall man entered the room without knocking on the door, which interrupted his words. Don't behave like a fool, Catherine. He looked the same as my memory, although it had been over a year since I last met him. He was a strong man whose muscular had slightly worn off due to his lack of training, but he looked good with his tailored dark suit. Short and wavy brown hair and glasses, clean-shaven square jaw, he looked like a swanky businessman, and he really was. He always put his business at the first. Joy quarreled him with reasons. He was much too prim and proper. When Joy decided to break up with her mate, a hewolf fond of domestic violence, he scolded her and made her leave. And almost in the same way, he made my mother leave. Long time no see, father. Kathy's POV. You only have yourself to blame that you have messed things up. Why not just accept your mate? My father asked, leaning on the door. He talked to me, just like talking to one of his subordinates. It's none of your business. I knew he liked to have control over everyone in every situation, but he chose to ignore me as he didn't believe I was a qualified daughter, which became my sore spot. Why did he suddenly concern me? I won't have any interest in your business if Joy didn't call me. She said you need my favor. To come back on time, I have to be absent from a business negotiation. Wow. Such a good father. Should I apologize for wasting your time? Of course you should. I have to pay a double salary to call Evan to send me here on Saturday. And I haven't counted the business loss of my company yet. Several projects need me to negotiate. Evan was his driver. Oh, come on. It sounds that you seldom ask Evan to work overtime. And if your business couldn't run well without you, I think you should blame your staff instead of me. Listen, you know nothing about my business and you have no rights to comment on it. Again, he could never stop talking when talked to his business, and I just rolled my eyes as I always did. But actually, I didn't hate him that much, because he paid a lot of effort to run his business in favor of our family expenses and even had a nervous breakdown years ago. That's why he couldn't drive himself. And I don't understand how you put yourself in such a situation. Look at this mess. You are really an ungrateful wretch to refuse your mate instead of thanking and accepting him. He easily concluded that I was wrong and even didn't ask me why I refused to accept Sidney. My father kept talking like a fly, buzzing at me. Can't you do anything right? You have already been a shame to our family for so many years. Cut it out! Sidney suddenly growled with his alpha spirit. His face became cold, such as Satan in great anger. What you said was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What do you think you are talking to? Although she is your child, she was also my mate and the Luna of the next generation. It was the first time I saw him that angry. And to be honest, it's a little scary, but he was dashing hot in this way. Can't find anyone else who is the same handsome as Sidney, even though he is angry. My wolf whispered. I nodded my head silently. My father's body started trembling under the anger of a future alpha. His eyes were full of fear. I smiled as I believed this asshole deserved it. You're away too far. Sidney looked at my father, who had already knelt down. Sorry, I apologize, Alpha. My father spoke haltingly. I didn't expect that you were here. You haven't figured it out that you shouldn't apologize to me. You should apologize to her. Sidney pointed to me. I am very disappointed at your attitude toward my mate. You should understand she is your future leader, and she can banish you from the pack as long as she wants. While Sidney kept roaring, I could do nothing except control my wolf, who was dying to come out from my belly. My temperature was increasing, and there was a wild desire for Sidney which was occupying my mind. I managed to move up a bit from Sidney silently. I was afraid that he might smell me and mark me. Kathy? Sidney was asking for my opinion. My gaze traveled from him to my father, trying to remember what they were discussing. Yeah, I have no interest to banish you now, but don't annoy me again, or you want to be banished. I tried to squeeze the sentence with a calm voice. My father left without saying anything. His footsteps echoed in the room. I planned to ask Sidney why he did it for me. I meant I hadn't accepted him yet. But Sidney didn't give me a chance to say my doubts as he sealed my mouth with his lips and tongue. Kathy's POV. Sitting in my seat, I took my textbook and waited for the teacher. Yeah, I was in classroom now. You might want to know what happened between Sidney and me. Honestly, I chose to avoid him as a coward. I left him alone in my bed and ran away. That's the only thing I could do. Although I really enjoyed it when we were in bed, but I didn't think I am prepared for a relationship. So, on the whole morning, I tried my best, running down the hall to avoid Sidney. The class ended. I hastily rushed out, and whispers surrounded me all over. It seemed that Sidney had told the whole world he was looking for me, that whispers kept following me no matter where I went. Okay, now I had only to cross the corridor and entered my classroom. I hid myself behind a pillar, looking around to ensure that Sidney wasn't here. But life never went as I expected. Seeing the familiar figure, I could only draw back my neck. Sidney knew I had to take this class, and he stood beside my classroom door, waiting for me to show up. His eyes traveled over the students, trying to search for me in the crowds. Damn, what am I supposed to do? Obviously not try to avoid him, you idiot, my wolf said. I won't mistake you as a dummy if you close your mouth. You're not helping, I complained. Whatever. I don't intend to help you, I just wanted to make it more interesting. You stupid idiot. Don't forget we are a whole. Once again, you scolded yourself. LOL. Gosh, I shouldn't argue myself. It was stupid. Before I annoyed myself, I heard a familiar voice. Kathy, what are you doing here? I jumped as I didn't expect there would be someone chatting with me. Turning my head back, I found it was Carol. Amusement gleamed in her eyes, and a big smile occurred on her face. She seemed extremely happy. What's the matter? I asked. She is obviously a little different today. There was a light in her eyes that I had never seen before. Maybe she enjoyed a quality bedtime. I continued. Well, you looked so happy. Why are you in such a good mood? Her smile faded a bit. We haven't seen each other for some days. Do I miss something? Where have you been these days? Gosh, I remembered that I hadn't talked to Carol for several days. Her smile vanished altogether when I ended my words. Instead, a nervous frown appeared on her face. Oh, I was familiar with this expression. She didn't intend to tell me the truth. My cute friend was so naughty. No, nothing, she stammered, and a persistent blush occurred to her pale cheeks. Wow, I got a hint. I guess your good mood involves another person, right? I stared at her provocatively, whose face had already become tomato red. Wait, when did she just stare at my shoulder? What's up, Sid? Carol blurted out these words as if she was running out of her wits. Guilty overwhelmed me. It was like that I was caught stealing something expensive by the owner, and I felt nothing except guilty. Then I was thrown to a warm hug. Doom, guilty swollen me now. It is. Well, what should I say? Amazing. His words made me quail. I brushed a lock of hair off my forehead. Just so guilty. Carol, would you mind I talk to my mate privately? Again, his sentences made me quail. He wasn't simply saying the word mate. He was addressing our relationship and the fact that I belonged to him. All right, as you like, Carol smirked and left. Damn, she left so quick. Sidney put his arms tightly around my waist. His touch made me remember when I shared a bed with him, I had slept more soundly than a baby. My face burned with shame and guilt. The corridor was empty now, and I just followed him to walk along the handrail. As for your leave, I need an explanation. Cut to the chase, can't we? I didn't know what to say. He was mad at my attitude that he suddenly growled. You are hiding the truth, he said. When I woke up this morning, I believed I would see your face next to me. I thought by reaching my arms I would hug your waist, only to find you were no longer here. He stopped walking, just standing in front of me. I need an explanation. Why did you leave? It's a secret. I wished I could distract his attention by answering this question jokingly. It should be, he mocked. I wonder it is the greatest secret that I had never heard. I ignored his sarcasm and continued my plan to distract him. You know what? The greatest secret I found about Carol was that she was the one who drew a turtle on Mr. David's white shirt in the New Year ceremony. I rattled off the sentence, feeling like that I had just swum 800 meters, or I drank 7 bottles of Coca-Cola in 1 minute. Really? She did it? It's funny. His attention was distracted as I wished. Great. But you haven't given me an explanation yet. His voice cut my joy. Kathy, I want to know why you left, seriously. I cannot see you so stupid any longer, my wolf whispered. Why not just tell him directly that you aren't prepared to be marked yet? Okay, I'll try it. But if he wasn't satisfied with my answer, I should run away like a stray dog. I mumbled silently in my mind. Go ahead, my wolf encouraged. I don't think I'm ready to be a couple with you. I squeezed this sentence. He might be mad. Carefully, I observed his expression, but the deep frown in his face was just replaced by a smile. It wasn't a big deal. I can wait until you are willing to accept me. He stared at me and grasped my hands. Kathy, I respect you and only want to treat you well. You can trust me. I returned with a fleeting smile. Thanks. What I want isn't a simple thanks. He parted his lips and kissed me after finishing his words. When the kiss ended, I was starting to puff a little. Come on, the class had already begun. He gazed after me to step into my classroom. Indeed, his kiss brightened this day. This class, I felt it was happier than the first one. Was this the happiness brought by revenge? Hey, I hadn't done with him yet. Kathy's POV. Although his kiss made me feel happy, the boring class just made me so sleepy. My teacher showed us a documentary about biodiversity that I had to waste an hour watching these stupid sheep, moth, and crocodile. So stupid. And as I was late for the class, Miss Oven took special care of me. She asked me to answer questions 3 times. Our school really hired a group of teachers who concerned about students' studies. She even required me to repeat what I had learned this class when the bell was about to ring. Of course, I couldn't answer her question, so I wasted several minutes promising I would do better the next time. Gosh! I watched the clock, only to find it was already 10 minutes late for lunch. Lunch is the most important part for me. It was my only pleasure every weekday at school. I hated it. I hated the class. I hated Miss Oven, and I hated school. Honey, I am dying to see you. A familiar voice aroused my interest. In the following seconds, no one answered. Maybe she was calling someone. I miss you too. I miss you every second when you aren't with me. OMG, I remembered. It was Carol's voice. You have a group project? Pause. Okay, I'll come. Just wait for me. I turned the corner and saw Carol leaning against the wall. She put her pink cell phone near her ear. There was light in her eyes, the light that only lovers could have. I love you, Mua. Carol threw a kiss to the person who was on the phone. There could only be one conclusion. She found her mate. She ended the talk and intended to leave. A bright smile was on her face. Who was Carol's mate? It was the first question that popped into my mind. But more importantly, why hadn't she told me? Whatever. It's time for Kathy Holmes. La la la. I called Sidney to tell him that I would visit a friend. He wanted to go with me, but I found an excuse that I preferred some private time. You're a liar, my wolf whispered. Then what should I do? Tell him I'm going to investigate Carol's mate? Impossible. Hurry up, or you can't follow Carol. You are also curious, aren't you? I didn't ride my motorcycle as she chose to get a taxi. I just followed what she did. Crossing 5 blocks, she arrived and got out of the car. Wait, she went directly to a hotel? OMG, she wouldn't do the dirty things I was imagining, would she? I followed her to enter the hotel, only to see her and a girl I didn't know were kissing in the hall. What did I see? She said she had no interest in girls anymore. What was she doing now? She was a liar. My eyes remained glued to this couple. The unknown girl rested her hand comfortably on Carol's waist, and sweet was written on Carol's face. After they swapped enough spit, they walked together to wait for the elevators. Wow! What were they going to do? Greet them, my wolf encouraged. Are you joking? How could I greet? Just say hello. Yeah, hello, I just saw you two kissing, and Carol will ask why I am here. I couldn't give a good answer, and she'll discover I have followed her and overhear her conversation with her mate. I said and rolled my eyes. She lied to you first. You just catch her saying a lie. Perfectly plausible, I'll greet. I knew people might change as time went by, but why did Carol lie to me? Hurry up, or they'll sneak into the elevator. My curiosity about Carol's mate drove me crazy that I felt my blood boiled. So I rushed to the elevator and successfully stopped its door from closing with my hands. Ouch! It hurt a little. The door opened, I saw Carol's face turn from pinky into pale due to surprise. Kathy? She said with her eyes widely open, and the unknown girl just gazed between Carol and me. Something was wrong. I grasped it from her trembling voice. In the year I left, what on earth had happened to her? Squeezing an awkward smile on my face, I said, "Hello, Carol? I just saw you two kissing." Kathy's POV. Now, Carol, Autumn, and I, we three were sitting on the bed. Carol just told me her mate's was Autumn. "So how much did I miss? Where did your story begin?" I asked and looked at Carol. "I don't know where I should start," Carol replied with a shrug. "How about explaining I have no interest in girls anymore first?" I reminded her of the lie she told. Carol covered her face with her hands. I lied." She squeezed the sentence. "Sorry, Kathy. Carrot, I am not interrogating you. I just concern about my best friend. Don't be so nervous." I softened my voice. "Why did you lie to me?" That's what made me annoyed. The tension on their face disappeared. To my surprise, Autumn spoke first. "Sorry, Kathy. I have to tell you that Sidney used to like me when we were young." "What?" "I knew he was a playboy." "I don't think Sidney would want a less friend, especially whose mate was his ex-girlfriend," Carol said. Wow, I had never thought it would because of Sidney. "No, not ex-girlfriend. He bared his heart to me, but I didn't accept him. But he won't do anything to you. Even if Sidney would be annoyed, I would back them up. We would have 3 musketeers against him. It is true that he has done something similar before. Once you were the one he hates, he would avoid talking or touching you. And every time he faces you, his eyes were full of disgust, as if he was looking at rotten vegetables. I remembered how he looked at me when I told him that I was his mate. To be honest, I was really hurt. But he is the future alpha. You cannot hide things before him. And it is really easy to discover you two are couples, for instance. I overheard your phone call." Autumn roared when I was talking as if her affair was discovered by Sidney. "I know we have to tell him, but I think it would be better after we attend the university. He will grow mature enough to accept all the things which are different from him. He is a little childish now, isn't he?" "Yeah, but you guys know that when I get home, the smell of you two won't disappear, right?" I groaned and rolled back. Thinking of Sidney's angry face, I took my phone, planning to text him first and finding myself an excuse. Gosh, I had already got 20 messages and 6 missed calls. Why didn't I hear my cell ring? Such a stupid cell. Gosh! I read these messages. Carol and Autumn also stared at my cells. "When will you back? I want to pick you up. Give me your address." Abby said she didn't know who you can visit. "Where are you? Tell me, Kathy." "Kathy, reply to me." I think I am going crazy without your reply. If I did something wrong, you can tell me. I just want to ensure you're okay, and I don't want to lose you again. These messages flooded to my cell, which got crazier and crazier, and in the most up-to-date one, he said if I didn't reply to him by 15:30, he would call the pack guards. And now was 15:27. "It seems he really loves you, isn't it?" Carol said. Both she and Autumn looked at me with a glint of laughter. "Maybe, but sometimes love is a special kind of shackle," I said and dialed Sidney's number. "The trial will begin now." When the cell rang, I began to beat time with my foot. It was only 2 rings before Black answered the phone. Wow, I could imagine he was waiting for my reply anxiously. "Kathy, don't leave me," he roared. "Where on earth are you? Is everything all right?" I took my cell off my ear as it made my ears ring. "Calm down, Sid. I'm okay." "Where are you?" "I am hanging out with Carol and Autumn." He sighed to relief. "Fine. Wait, who's Autumn?" "The girl you used to like." "Gosh, are you mad because of her?" "Well, you know I am young at that time. I only love you now." His voice became anxious again. "I know. Actually, I'm not mad. I didn't reply to you just because I didn't pay attention to my phone." "Okay, shall I pick you up?" "No, I can hail a taxi." "Fine. Call me when you back, baby." "Bye." He called me baby. "Goodbye." I hung up. "Hey guys, I think I have to leave now, but you have to tell me your whole story next time." I stood up and intended to leave. "Kathy?" Carol grasped my hand. "Please don't tell Sidney, okay?" There was anxiety in her eyes. "Of course I won't. We are besties, Carrot." I gave her a comforting smile. "And it will be better that you tell him directly." I left after saying goodbye to the two. Dominating as Sidney, he wouldn't be happy if I left too long. After all, I hadn't done with him. My plan would still go on. It wasn't a good time to annoy him. Sidney's POV. Kathy didn't tell me the truth. I got the conclusion after hanging the phone. She didn't trust me. This fact made me unhappy. Whatever, I would make her understand it was me who loved her deeply, and I had changed a lot to win her forgiveness. Sooner or later, she definitely would forgive me, I believed. Well, I don't think she has given up her plan, my wolf mumbled. Whatever she planned, I'll roll with punches. Kathy's POV. Perhaps you can give up revenging. My wolf's voice, muscling its way past the many troubling ones in my head, fought for my attention. When I was in the taxi, I kept thinking about Carol, Autumn, Bowen, and Sidney, and what on earth I could do to revenge Sidney. Indeed, in the past year when I left, I had thought of many brilliant ideas for revenge. For instance, I could sell Sidney's car on eBay for $20, and many customers would be interested in his car, and his phone would be ringing off. If he refused, they would scold him as a liar. Or I could buy some fresh fish and hide it in his car or home, wherever he would have trouble finding it. Then he would be surrounded by the stinking smell of dead fish days later. However, when I backed, I did nothing. I didn't know why. These plans were easy to carry out, but I just didn't finish any of them. Why not just give up your plan and accept him as your mate? My wolf said again. I didn't answer. I must revenge. I was just thinking about the best plan. I got out of the taxi and paid the fees. Joy? I called my aunt on stepping into the house. Kitchen. She was busy with my dinner. I walked directly to the toilet. However, opening the door, I saw Sidney, bare. Ah! I screamed out. Before I covered my eyes with my hands, my gaze had already traveled the length of his bare back with wonder. I had never seen a semi-nude man in the past, nor had I been so enthralled by a handsome hewolf whose muscles were so beautiful. His body spoke of strength, which aroused my interest to lean against him. Why are you in Joy's bathroom? I asked. I am here for you. Just now my clothes were stained with grease when I was in the kitchen helping your aunt. So I pulled it and intended to take a shower. While he made the explanation, I was stepping out. However, with my eyes covered, I stepped something that I was going to fall. Fear forced me to open my eyes, and Sidney had thrown his arms around my waist to support me that I realized I was facing him naked. Too nervous, I failed to control my body that I fell, and made Sidney fell either. He tried to support his body with his hands. It was like he was doing push-ups. And my face caught fire as he was on top of me. Awkward. A lump formed in my throat when I stared at his face. The air was full of sexy illusion. Kathy. He parted his lips to call my name. Did you hurt? No. Gosh, I loved his blue eyes. But after I replied, I suddenly realized the pain. I had to thank Moon Goddess that it was in winter. I wore thick clothes that even I fell heavily to the floor. I didn't feel so much pain. It must hurt. He stood up first and helped me up. Thanks. You have already seen my bare body last time. Why did you so nervous just now? What? Damn, the memory that I almost lost my control and nearly being marked by Sidney flashed in my mind. Kathy, I can wait until you're willing to accept me. He was dashing hot when he said it. That evening, when we shared dinner together, my brain was still filled with the image of him saying he would wait for me. He asked about Carol, and I didn't say anything about her mate. Stay at here tonight, Sid? Joy asked. Wait, when did she become so familiar with Sidney? And Sidney just answered okay. We don't prepare a guest's room, Joy, I exclaimed. You two share a room. She said and left, even didn't leave me with chances to say something and change her decision. Kathy? Like a miracle, Sidney's voice made my heart softened. When I realized things didn't go on as I expected, I was already sharing my bed with Sidney. The whole night I was trapped in his arms and immersed in his warmth with my ears pressed to his chest as I listened to his heartbeat. But we did nothing. There were some moments that I thought I was falling in love with him. Gosh, I had to revenge. Opening my eyes, I was astonished to find that Blake wasn't in my bed. The curtains added an orange glow to the morning light, a perfect sunrise, but my bed was empty. I had to admit that there were some seconds that I felt a little disappointed. Then I discovered there was a note on my nightstand. I quickly grasped it in my hand. Honey, Jack called me for help that I had to leave. See you later at school. Love, Sidney. So childish. Writing notes was something I did when I was only 6. I would mock him when I got to school. As usual, I got up, washed, and got dressed. My wolf was really quiet this morning. That's a bit abnormal. And I had a special feeling that it seemed that today would be a terrible day. Shaking my head, I tried to swallow down my nervousness. Whatever, I just got to school. When I arrived, I found it was weirdly quiet, and everyone just stared at me as if I had messy hair or the zip of my pants was open. Some of them were even discussing me. I heard my name in their whispers. No, not merely my name. I also heard Sidney and Bella, that bitch. What on earth can combine the name of us 3 together? Do you know what happened? I asked my wolf silently. No, but I think we'll figure it out once we find Sidney. Brilliant. Can you find him? I guess he is in the right direction. Great. The right would be the hall. I stepped into the hall and never missed any sign of my mate. But when I found him, I suddenly wished I didn't. At that moment, I felt my heart broke, and it was Sidney who broke my heart, and anger followed. I mean, he'd better put the short, fat guy back on the wall and push her away. But no, he didn't. My eyes followed they two. Sidney and Bella were locking their lips. He made Bella lean against the wall. Her arms hugged Sidney tightly like a koala hugging the tree. Then he bit his mouth heavily, as if he was pushing his tongue to her throat. His hands were also busy as they tried to reach into her pants. My eyes must have frozen over like the surface of a winter puddle, because the only thing I could feel now was bone-chilling coldness all over my body. Betrayal arrived just like the gift I never wanted. My heart was burning, but the weirdest thing was that I was not crying. I was burning in anger, but I didn't cry. I didn't even make any noise. Ridiculous that I even believed he changed. I believed he had turned into a gentleman, but it had become meaningless. My trust became a cruel trick, as cruel as any desert image. What the fuck is this? There was a voice in the corridor, and Sidney seemed to realize that there was someone else watching their life when he pulled away from the slut. Hey, Abby. His voice seemed dull, as if he was suddenly wide awake. Hell, you bastard! Abby looked at Bella, whose clothes were in disarray. Then Abby noticed I was here. She rushed towards Sidney and gave him a big hit, which made him fall to the floor. Sidney didn't take any measures to protect himself. Jasper also came. He pushed Abby aside gently. Girls shouldn't beat people. It is a male's work, Jasper said and started to punch Sidney. Hearing the moan from Sidney, I didn't stop Jasper from punching him. He deserved it. I would never forgive him this time. When I just started to believe him, what he did really let me down. My heart was bleeding. He couldn't force me to take his car and pushed me out of the car in the midway. Sidney didn't beg for forgiveness, and Jasper didn't stop. Kathy? Abby looked at me with worried eyes. I want to be alone for a while, I said to Abby and pushed her hands off. I walked back home. Students were still looking at me when I passed by. I must be a joke in their eyes or something ridiculous. When I passed by the parking spot, I saw Sidney's car. I found the knife from my bag and wrote a curse for him. Maybe I had already run out of my tears, or I was hurt so deep that I forgot how to cry. I felt I was like a ghost, floating in the air, and I didn't know how I get to Abby's house. My wolf didn't say anything for the whole time. It made me more feel like a ghost, a lonely one. I opened the door of my own room. Since I found joy, I seldom rested in this room. This was the room where I grew up. This was the place that could give me a sense of security. I lied on my bed and found the teddy bear Abby bought for me. Tears finally were streaming down my face. I didn't wipe them. Closing my eyes, I threw myself to dreamland. Sidney's POV. My nose was a bloody mess. I was dying. Literally, I was dying under Jasper's punch. What the hell had happened? I realized Jasper was hitting me, white knuckles from clenching his fist too hard to beat me, and his face was red with suppressed rage. I wanted to push him away, but I couldn't make it because my muscles refused to act. It was weird. And Abby looked at me with disgust. Her eyes exuded an animosity that was like acid burning, slicing, potent. My wolf felt curious. What the fuck did you do? His voice was really weak, as if he had suffered a lot. I don't know, dude. Sincerely, I answered. Actually, I thought I should appear in a seat in front of a breakfast table and eat with Jack. Wait, I had drunk a glass of water Jack handed to me and lost my sense. Fuck you fucking fucker. You are fucking piece of shit. You stupid cheap lying monkey shit. Abby's voice interrupted my thought, and Jasper didn't stop punching me. Although Abby kept scolding me, I hadn't understood what had happened yet. I couldn't figure out what could make them so annoyed. Stop, please, I said. At least you guys should tell me what the fault I made. Hearing my words, Jasper stopped and looked at Abby. But Abby became angrier. What a stupid idiot. I am about to explode. You broke my sister's heart, and you said you'd know what's your fault. I broke Kathy's heart? How? Jasper, never stop. Following Abby's words, Jasper started to punch me again. Wait, I did nothing, I yelled. According to my memory, I actually did nothing. Nothing. If nothing means screwing with Bella, then you did nothing. Jasper replied. Bella? What? And you did it in public and made my poor sister witness it. You really are a first-class, 5-star, solid gold fucking moron, Abby added. Shut up and let me go, or I'll release Alpha Spirit. My muscles started to cooperate, and I couldn't bear that I was blamed for something I didn't do. Alpha? Born as Alpha didn't mean that you can destroy my sis's heart, Abby exclaimed. But the fact was that I didn't. Was she insane? Meanwhile, a voice came from the crowd. Sidney, as the Alpha to be, you should take responsibility for what you have done instead of denying it. Then I noticed I was encircled by a group of students, most of them having an angry face. Yes, we all have witnessed it, and some even took pictures. Another voice said, It seemed that Jasper finally understood there was something wrong with me that he threw his cell phone at me. And I saw the picture that I made Bella leaning on the wall and was making out with her. Trust me, I am framed. I don't remember it at all. You know me, Abby. You know I couldn't hurt Kathy. Gosh, the glass of water that Jack handed to me might be something wrong. I know you, Sidney. I know you are a bastard, Abby said and grasped the right arm of Jasper. They too left. I ignored the students passing by. What I felt was a total blank. I ruined everything. Sid, in front of you would be hell if you couldn't find Kathy back, my wolf said to me. Kathy's image flashed in my mind, and I felt there were needles pricking my heart. Recalling what had happened, I could only draw one conclusion. I had been drugged. I had to find Jack to figure everything out, and I had to find Kathy to beg for forgiveness. I rushed to the parking spot, and I saw my car's paintwork was badly scratched. Go to the hell, Kay! It was my mate's artwork. I hated it, not hating Kathy. For her, I was an asshole right now. I hated the man behind the farce. Burning rage hissed through my body like deathly poison, screeching a demanded release in the form of unwanted violence. I must make him paid. Carol's POV. Abby. On arriving at Abby's house, I yelled at her name. Since Kathy had discovered that Autumn and I were mates, I thought I could tell Abby. Therefore, I asked Autumn to visit Abby with me. You knew, in the past several hours, she was never enough of me. Every time this little naughty smiled at me, I felt invisible hands wrapping around me, making me feel safe, making her requirement irresistible. And when her eyes were locked on mine, I guessed what I see was a galaxy instead of just pupils. It seems the house is empty, Autumn said and placed her hands on my shoulder. I encircled her waist with my arms. Yeah, usually at this time there should be 3 or 4 guys playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but now there was nothing except silence. Abby? Kathy? Jasper? No one replied, but I heard some noises upstairs. Did you hear the noise? I am a little afraid if there is a thief. Autumn said and hugged me tightly. Even her face felt tight. No, honey, the door is open. I guess they are just upstairs and no one hears our voices. I tried to comfort her and made her behind me. Although I knew it was safe, every muscle of Mince became tight, sprung for the unknown dangers if there was some. When we gentle walked upstairs and opened the door of Abby's room, I saw Jasper first. He was sitting on a chair with blood on his clothes. Gosh, are you all right? I said and walked to him with Autumn. What happened? Autumn looked a little scared. Nothing serious. The blood wasn't mine, most of which was from Sidney. Jasper looked energetic, unlike a patient, but his fingers were bleeding, and there were bruises on his arms. At the same time, Abby, carrying a medical box, came in. I cannot understand. You beat Sidney? Why? I was very curious about what had happened. Sidney was making out with Bella in front of Kathy, Abby replied. Her voice was full of anger and worries. What the fuck? How could he hurt Kathy? My face flushed red, and I couldn't control my anger that I hoped I could force Sidney to apologize to Kathy. I even had an impulse to kill him. I knew why I became so angry. Kathy became my best friend when we were both very young. She was the one who ate all the carrot I hated for me, and she was the one who supported me when I came out of the closet. She was the one that I cared about most. I worried that she would be harmed, and I hoped she could find her happiness. But he said he was framed. Jasper stated a different opinion. As long as he broke Kathy's heart, he was a bastard that deserves my fists, I growled. But Abby cut my words. What Jasper said was true. He looked like being drugged, and Jasper had already taught him a lesson. Who did it? I asked. Till present, we could only conclude that Bella knew Sidney was drugged. We had no idea who did it, Jasper said. Then what should we do? We should let this bastard pay for it, I said, clenching my fists. My friend said that he saw Sidney driving his car and visited Jack after we left. It is obvious that Sidney should find the guy first. I think Jack may be the one who drugged. Abby's gaze traveled among us. So we should have a plan about how to make the guy know what a big fault he has made, I concluded. I think you should stay here to take care of Kathy. She is sleeping in her room, concerned about her mood, Abby suggested. And this lady is. Oh, I forgot to tell you, she is my mate, Autumn. Hearing my words, Autumn kissed on my cheeks. Abby and Jasper greeted Autumn friendly. So Jasper and I will visit Jack, and your mate will stay with you. Abby came out with her opinion. Okay, I said. Autumn also clapped her hands. Watching they left, I knew the guy named Jack would receive a great gift, because we had reserved a seat for him in the hell, Sidney's POV. Jack! The whole street could hear my yell as some passerby had already looked at me. My heart was bleeding as I could feel the pain my mate was suffering, which made me angrier. Jack! I kept yelling as I knew he was here, inside the house. He didn't answer me, but I could hear there were some noises, a frantic shuffling. The pain was tormenting me, but I didn't care. I just concerned about my mate. She was suffering. A sad and mad growl escaped my lips. I didn't want to control my alpha spirit anymore. I shouted with all of my energy, Jack! Finally, he moved. I heard his footstep, which was in a rush from his bedroom to the living room, in the end to the door. He appeared in front of my eyes in leisure wear. His head was held up, making him look very grand. I wanted to hit his head and make him lie on the floor. I wanted to punch his face and made his nose bleed. Hey dude, what's the matter? As usual, he greeted as if nothing had happened. He let me in. You drugged me, didn't you? My wolf was out of rage. He wanted to control my body. I had to do it, dude. I did it for the benefit of our pack. His voice shook while his face blushed. Did he went crazy? The benefit of our pack? You drugged the alpha and tried to split my mate and me up for the benefit of our pack? My wolf was extremely mad at his words. He kept persuading me to give up control of my body. Let me teach him a lesson. Let me do it. You are destroying the pack, you stupid, I screamed. No, I am not. Can't you remember who she is? He stepped backward and stared to defend himself. I can easily remember who she is. She is the fat, ugly piggy who was mocked and bullied by the whole pack. She is the shame of she-wolves. She is a joke who isn't worthy of being the Luna of our pack. I feel proud that I have pushed this stupid skunk down. Gosh! He pushed her deliberately. I always believed he just did it by accident, and I didn't blame him when my mate left. Let me do it. Let me face him. My wolf was screaming as if he was crazy. For the first time, I was willing to make my wolf occupy my body totally. My body lashed out at him, watching him crumple with grim satisfaction, enjoying the sting on my knuckles. Abby's POV. Driving directly to Jack's house, I was surprised to find Sidney gave his alpha spirit a full display. Even there was still some distance from Jack's house. I could feel his strong power. And when we arrived, what we saw was more astonishing. Sidney was in wolf shape. He was threatening Jack's throat. Blood was seeping beneath Jack's skin. I could see broken nails and teeth lying on the floor. He wanted to kill Jack. He was serious. And it looked that Jack was already in a coma. I didn't even hear his moan. No, I must stop him. Although Kathy was mad at him, there was a possibility she would forgive him. If he really killed someone, there would be no future between them. Jasper, save Jack, I yelled. I tried to stop Sidney and Jasper tried to protect Jack, but it was hard as our wolves were retreating under the warning of the alpha. Move! Sidney shouted. His voice exploded beside my ears. I understood it was his wolf speaking instead of him. My ears were hurting, but I had to stop him. Sid, think about Kathy. If you kill him, Kathy would never for. Gosh, what had I heard? I lost the ability to speak when I heard the roar of Carol. All of us turned to Carol. She was huffing and puffing, but quickly she said it again. Kathy's gone. Bella did it. Panic overwhelmed me. Bella's POV. Lying on the floor next to the spare tires and Kit was a human form, unmoving. A smile crept over my young features as my gaze traveled over her. Although it was winter, she was warm enough not to be dead because of her heavy clothes, and even though her clothes were heavy, it couldn't hide her beautiful figure. How ridiculous. The ugliest and fattest pig turned into a beauty that even I envied. Whatever, she would embrace her death. I poured a bowl of water to her. Killing a girl when she was sleeping wasn't interesting. I wanted her clear to know how huge the cost was to annoy me. Kathy's POV. Kathy? Catherine? Wake up! Someone kept calling my name. My brain was in a mess. I also heard the noise of the generator, but my eyelids were so heavy. Suddenly, I felt a bowl of cold water was thrown at me. I opened my eyes due to the cold. I was tightly tied. I couldn't even move my hand, and in winter I should wear a down coat, but I only wore a sweater, which now became wet. The room seemed like an abandoned basement with old tires and other wastes, and I didn't see any window. Above, the only source of light was an old-fashioned bulb on a bare white wire, and its switch was nowhere to be seen. I think we are in big trouble, my wolf whispered when my gaze landed on vicious Bella, who was smiling with an empty bowl. Hey, Kathy. Long time no see. How's everything going? Her sweet voice and smile only reminded me of the old and vicious hag in witch stories. Not bad, I replied, but she stamped on my wrist with her high heel. Bitch, I won't regard you as deaf if you say nothing. Ouch, it hurt. It really hurt. I could only breathe slow and deep until the pain passed. Seeing my pale face and hearing my moan, Bella gave a content smile. Where am I asked. Why did you bring me here? She laughed. Do you think I will tell you? I don't understand. You sleep with my mate and you kidnap me? Hatred of him for old and new wrongs welled up in my heart, but my words were cut off by her. Stop mentioning Sid. First, I haven't slept with him yet. You ruined everything. Second, such a skunk like you only deserves scold and death. What? She slapped my face. The pain throbbed my face. Without you, Sidney will love me. She was crazy. Why can you easily win his heart? Without you, I wouldn't become a bad guy who has to drug. Once she finished a sentence, she slapped my face. Screw you. Whatever you did, Sidney only loves me. I wasn't the type who could bear her curse. Shut up, bitch. He didn't like you at all. He was just attracted by your vagina. Then even your vagina couldn't attract him. Ah! Her screams split the air. She stopped slapping me and started to find something in these wastes. Is there any possibility that we escape when she is searching? I whispered to my wolf. No, you are weak now. She might have drugged you. My wolf replied. Damn. Yeah, I got it, Bella said in a hoarse voice and backed with a knife in her hand. What the fuck? Being tortured by her claws wasn't enough. She wanted to kill me? Seriously? Should I send you to the hell directly, or I make you amputated? Let you enjoy the feeling of death longer? She mumbled and put her knife on my lap. The cold of her sharp knife made my soul chill. I stared at her coldly. Don't blame me, bitch. You should blame Jack. If his drug is strong enough, there is no need to kill you. Drug? I stared at the lady. What do you mean by saying drug? She replied to me with a weird smile. You don't know what has happened? What should I know? I asked. My instinct was telling me that what she said was closely tied with Sidney. She stabbed my lap with the knife. What a poor girl. You didn't even know what had happened. Ouch. It really hurt. I was bleeding heavily, but I was really curious about the fact. So, what had happened? We don't think you are good enough to be the Luna of our pack. So Jack just drugged in your breakfast. If Sidney could mark me successfully, She moved the knife up to my face. Then you have no need to die. Her giggle echoed in this room, which made the room more freak. Sidney didn't betray you, my wolf whispered. Yeah, but we could talk it if we can escape there, I mumbled. At that moment, Bella stabbed at my arms. My scream echoed in the basement. I could feel my wolf's anger as she wanted to have control over my body. She wanted to fight against Bella, kill her, if possible. But we both were so weak. I even couldn't shift. Tormenting you is so funny. I start to like it. Her laughter became louder as my scream became sharper. Your face is beautiful. I really want to make it scarred and disfigured. She put the knife on my face, which made me flinch. Stop! I begged. Bang! Then I heard someone was kicking the door. Bella covered my mouth to make me stay silent. I struggled to make noisier until she put the knife on my throat to threaten me. Moon goddess, please, someone please come. Sidney, please save me. Kathy, it's Sidney's voice. Where are you? It's Abby. They came to rescue me. A smile curved to my lips. Enjoy your life in hell, Bella said and cut my throat. Many said that when you die, you would meet a robed skeleton holding a scythe. Some said you went to heaven or hell. Some said that you are reincarnated. Some said you would turn into a ghost, while some said you sleep for eternity. So which one could happen to me? Sidney's POV, I traced the scent of Kathy. Abby, Jasper, Carol, and Autumn. They followed me, and we arrived at this deserted building. Kathy, I yelled. Where are you? Abby screamed. No one, Jasper said. The scent shows she is in this building, I said. I found a locked basement, Carol exclaimed. Go. The door was locked, but I easily kicked it out. Then what I saw was Bella cutting the throat of Kathy. When Bella saw us, she threw the knife and wanted to escape. But Carol and Abby had stopped her. They were yelling and screaming. But what I cared about was my poor Kathy. She was badly tortured by Bella. I saw so many wounds, even on her face. Her clothes were already red with blood, and her face was pale. I tried my best to stop her bleeding in the neck while I yelled due to extreme pain. Get rid of me. She deserves it. Bella was still screaming. This vicious she-wolf. Abby slapped on her face to make her shut up, and I just drove to the Pack's doctor at once. She lost a lot of blood, the doctor said, and she has gone through so much. If she keeps going on like this, I'm afraid you won't like the outcome. Save her. Try your best, I screamed. I need her alive. Alpha, I have to say there is the possibility that she can't go through this. She is badly injured. I want her alive. The doctor came in, leaving us outside. I clenched a fist. My mate, my personal angel, she was about to die, and I could do anything. How should we make Bella pay? Jasper asked. I'd like Bella to die earlier. The more miserable the death is, the better, I said. And Jack, I'll banish him. I didn't know how long I have waited outside. As long as she can wake up tonight, she would recover, the doctor said in a tired voice. What if she couldn't? I asked anxiously. Then she may become vegetable, or worse, she may die. They all left. Only I was in this room, taking care of Kathy. Please, you should wake up. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I kissed her forehead. I hold her tightly to feel the warmth of her body, fearing she was still missing or dead. Kathy's POV, she's trash. Even her own parents hate her. We should dispose of her as we are required to clean everything up. No, she is not trash. She is something worse. I've told you guys, the floor would shake every time she falls, see? Your fat ass and elephant waist are quintuples of your sister's, especially when you swaying like a hot air balloon. I'm afraid your wolf has difficulty to go out of your pumpkin belly. People's mock echoed in my ears. I looked at my fat body and ugly face. I felt so depressed and hollow, but something flashed in my mind. No, no, I yelled. I had already become beautiful. I didn't fear them. Kathy, someone was calling my name. His voice was so familiar. Kathy, you should wake up. It's my wolf. What had happened? I felt I was in great pain. Something was burning in my throat. Something was pricking my lad. Something was biting my arms. Kathy? Oh, it's Sidney's voice. I tried to open my eyes, but they were too heavy. I tried to move my arms, but they were out of control. Heck, was I dead? No, but you will if you cannot open your eyes, my wolf yelled. Gosh, what has happened? Bella, that bitch, she tried to kill us. She cut your throat with her knife. I remembered everything. I had to wake up. Kathy? Sidney's voice was rough with a dash of hope and a sprinkle of excitement. Yeah, you need to wake up and greet your mate. You can finally be together. My wolf encouraged. Mate? It seemed that a century had passed since I heard it last time. I actually missed Sidney. Was it strange? No, he's your mate Doofus. Now open your eyes. I slowly listened to her, and I swear the look on his face was amazing. It was exactly what I had dreamed of 2 years ago, every night when I went to sleep. I had the feeling in my stomach that I was dying to see him. I am so sorry. I didn't protect you well. I came too late, Sidney said. His voice was hoarse. It doesn't matter, you saved me, I said. I want water. I want food. I am so hungry and thirsty. He quickly prepared a glass of water and fed me. After finishing half glass of water, I felt myself better. Wait for minutes. I'll fetch you some food. Just relax, he said and left. I slightly nodded, which made my wound hurt. At that moment, I saw the mirror hanging on the wall. The girl was pale, with a scar on her face. Kathy's POV. I looked outside the window. The sun overhead merely made an appearance and did very little to melt the snow. And my heart was as icy as the snow. I had been mocked as an ugly fatty for the past years. I tried my best to become beautiful, but now I lost everything. Tears fell down my face. My gaze traveled to the mirror again. The scar Bella left would remain on my face for a period of time. Worse, it might be forever. And I became ugly again. It was like a fierce monster, yelling on my face, telling everyone, "Look there, an ugly she-wolf." My eyes became widened. I remembered that Bella had put the knife on my face. How ridiculous. I made so many efforts to become beautiful, and now my beauty was destroyed. Everything back to the origin. These words in my dream echoed again. I remembered what Sidney had spoken to me. I am not your mate, and no one will be your mate. You're just a fatty whose legs are even as big as my waists. And your dotted face only reminded me of moldy strawberries. I couldn't imagine there would be someone who has to be your mate. Your fat ass and elephant waist are quintuples of your sister's, especially when you swaying like a hot air balloon. I'm afraid your wolf has difficulty to go out of your pumpkin belly. Now there was a scar on my face. He might say it would make him disgusting. I was so anxious, I decided to stop crying. A down mood was bad for recovery. I took a deep sigh to loosen my stressed mind. I wished I could lazily walk to the shower room and took a hot bath, but I couldn't, and Sidney's face just flashed in front of me. I couldn't take him out of my mind at all. I hit my head and growled in pain, drowned in my miserable past memories and struggling to stop my heart from desiring Sidney. I even wished the pain could be more huge to make me forget these troubles. Why not just ask him? Why not just tell him what you think? My wolf encouraged. Kathy. Sidney entered my room. Are you feeling better? Hearing his voice, I felt a little nervous. Sidney was a playboy. He treated me well, might because I was pretty. Now my face was disfigured. He might hate me, like he used to reject me as his mate. Then I realized that maybe I loved him, even more than I knew. Much better, I replied. I want to be marked by you, Sid. I am glad to hear it, but now you are so weak. My wound hurts, and you'll be my pain reliever. I sent the invitation again, Sidney's POV. My hand lingered on her face for much longer than I had intended. My eyes remained locked with her, and my feet stood planted on the spot before her. Although there was a scar on her face, she was still extremely gorgeous. And I knew she was saying the truth. Something passed between us, something powerful, pulling me to her until I was leaning down and kissing her. I kissed the scar on her face. The doctor said it would disappear in a month, but now it reminded me every second I saw it that I didn't protect my sweet Kathy well. Her mouth hung open slightly, but her eyes were not looking at me. Kathy? I called her. What? Are you feel I am disgusting? She said it anxiously, like a scared bunny. That moment I realized she was afraid she'd look into my eyes and see what she didn't want to see, like disgust or guilty. She was afraid there wasn't love. She was worried that I may abandon her due to the scar on her face. Quickly, I understood that why she was trying to seduce me, although she was still in recovery. Kathy, I would never feel you disgusting. You are still beautiful, even with this scar. I just feel sorry that I didn't protect you well. I tried to make my voice gentle and let her believe my sincerity. Only you can be my wife and the future Luna, I promise. Kathy's POV. It was hard to describe my feelings. I had never imagined Sidney would make such a promise to me. There were so many times that I felt I was moved by him and decided to give up my revenge plan. But I always told myself that he was a jerk who was fond of body shaming. He was a bastard who now only loved me because I was beautiful. I lost my confidence for so long. I desired for true love for so long. When he bared his heart to me, I had no courage to admit it was me who he loved. I kept telling myself it was my beauty who he loved, not my soul. And for the first time, I was 100% assured that I was wrong. "Sid, I want to be marked now," I said. I grasped the joy in his eyes. "You forgive me?" he asked. Yes, my words were cut down by his kiss. I threw myself to him. His kiss was like some kind of incendiary device. My blood flamed. He leaned down and kissed my lips gently, and he sucked at my lower lip. I wanted to bite this lip, he murmured against my mouth, and carefully he tugged at it with his teeth. I moaned, and he smiled. "Thanks, Kathy," he whispered. I stared at him. He was confident, sexy, eyes blazing, and my heart began to pound. I was still a virgin. My bloods pumped around my body. Desire, thick and hot, pooled in my belly. My wolf was excited. She couldn't wait to be marked. He stood in front of me, staring down into my eyes. He was so freaking hot. "Let's get this jacket off, shall we?" he said softly, and took hold of the lapels and gently slid my jacket off my shoulders. He placed it on the chair. "Do you have any idea how much I want you, Kathy?" he whispered. My breath hitched. I cannot take my eyes off his. He reached up and gently run his fingers down my cheek to my chin. "Do you have any idea what I'm going to do to you?" he added, caressing my chin. "Of course I do, and I will enjoy it." I replied. Kathy's POV. I was so happy. It was the most important day of my life, after all. I was getting married to the love of my life. I was getting married to the only person I loved so much in this world, and I would shoulder the responsibility of Luna-to-be. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was wearing a long white wedding gown with an umbrella-cut and heart-shaped strapless dress. This dress was provided by Sidney. He invited his uncle, who was a famous designer, to design this dress for me. It was lacy at some parts, and the corset I wore underneath the dress made my figure look more good. My light red hair was down into curls, and flower clips were attached to the left side of my hair. I was completely ready. My makeup was done perfectly with shimmery red lipstick, and my blue eyes looked absolutely beautiful with the liner that my makeup man applied on me. And the scar was well hidden. I wore a white peep-toe sandal, which increased my original height of 5'6" to 3 to 4 inches more. "Oh my God, you look so beautiful, Kathy." Abby squealed as she took me into a hug. "Thank you." I blushed as I turned around towards the mirror shyly. "Oh, look at you. Today is your wedding, and you are still shying." She elbowed me and made me grow even redder than I already was. "Abby!" I shushed her as she began to laugh like a hyena at my expression and hugged me sideways. "Sidney is just so lucky," she spoke as she looked at me through the mirror. "Everyone is waiting for you." Carol entered the room. She gave me a bouquet of roses and I held it. "You are so beautiful," she praised. I stood up and went out. "My sweetheart," Joy cooed as she engulfed me into her arms. "Joy, I can't breathe." I managed to speak with great difficulty, and finally she let me go, realizing it, and I huffed out air, feeling relaxed. "Relax, two princesses," Jasper said, which made everyone smile. I walked out. I managed to smile at the people. The room buzzed with excited chatter, and children ran between the tables in a good-natured game of tag. Applause spread across the room when I showed up. There were cheers and someone whooped. For our wedding gifts, I asked for only good wishes. So our guests wrote them on special cards we could fix into a memories book. Therefore, over the coming year, we wrote back to them one by one with a special wish for them. And this universe being the wonderful place it is, those wishes always arrived in a moment when they needed it the most. It was the gift that kept on giving over the years, and we treasured it more than any material thing could ever be treasured. Then I saw Sidney, who was waiting for me confidently. He looked so handsome wearing his black suit. His hair was combed back, and his brilliant eyes twinkled when he saw me. Immediately, a smile broke into his lips as he licked his lips waiting for me. "You look beautiful, Muffin," Sidney whispered to me as he placed a kiss on the back of my hand. "I just can't wait to get you," he said, making me blush. A clearing of the throat made us snap out of our little moment. The priest cleared his throat, probably hearing Sidney's words. "Shall we begin now?" the priest asked, holding his book, and we nodded. He began to read his book while people sat down on their places watching us while the priest read his book. "Now you may speak your vows," he told us, and I nodded. Finally, it was time. I have waited for this moment for so long. I take Catherine as my wife, my partner in life. I heard the man speak with a smirk. "I will cherish our friendship and love you today, tomorrow, and forever. I will trust you and honor you. I will laugh with you and cry with you. Through the best and the worst, through difficulty and happiness. What may come, I will always be there. As I have given you my hand to hold, I give you my life to keep. So, Moon Goddess, entreat me not to leave you or to return from following after you, for where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. And where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried." Staring at his face, I felt tears were sliding down my face, although I was really happy. Finally, I got all I wanted, my family, my true love, and my friend. And believe me, even if there was a scar on my face, I was still beautiful, and I would be forever beautiful.